Chapter 43:30. Damn it. Without waiting for Cultivator Xian to raise his head, Shui Mingzi's expression changed and he angrily cursed. Didn't this old man say it before? Unless absolutely necessary, don't kill any demon beasts. Cultivator Xian was slightly angered by the fact that he was being scolded by two out-of-body martial grandmasters. He almost blurted out, "Senior Shui, even if it's just an ordinary little demon beast, I won't bring about a calamity if I kill it, right?" How could Shui Mingzi be bothered to explain anything to him? Shui Mingzi made a hand seal and hit his nose with the back of his hand. After that, Shui Mingzi sniffled and his expression changed drastically. He shouted, "Go!" His body turned into a rainbow and without concealing himself, he rushed in the direction where the bat demons had flown to earlier. Ao Zhantian was also a bit confused. However, when he saw Shui Mingzi reveal himself, he hurriedly released his spiritual sense. Sure enough, the eyes of all the little demon beasts that had fled or fallen to the ground had turned crimson red. They rushed out from all directions and rushed toward the human cultivators like moths to a flame. Moreover, when these little demonic beasts scurried over, their mouths emitted squeaking sounds. Although these squeaking sounds were very soft, when there were so many of them, they formed a kind of loud sound that was like the roar of a mountain or a tsunami. This loud sound spread very far in the night sky. Damn it! Ao Zhantian cursed. What the hell is going on? Why did these little demon beasts suddenly go crazy? Even as he cursed, Ao Zhantian's body also transformed into a streak of light and rushed toward Shui Mingzi. Although he didn't know what was going on, Cultivator Xian knew that he had caused trouble by killing the little demon beast. He hurriedly shook his hand and threw the little demon beast's minced meat onto a huge tree. His body also transformed into a streak of light and chased after Shui Mingzi. But what this cultivator surnamed Xian didn't know was that the little demonic beast's flesh was somewhat strange. When he killed the demonic beast with a shake of his hand, a few strands of its blood seeped through his magic power and landed on his Taoist robe. Let's go, let's go. The group of nascent soul cultivators also didn't dare to tarry and flew into the distance. Not long after the human cultivator left, hundreds of small demonic beasts arrived first. They effortlessly discovered the corpses of the small demonic beasts killed by the cultivator surnamed Xian. Squeak, 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 squeak. The small demonic beasts closest to the corpses let out hysterical screeches. Then, their entire bodies glowed with a blood-red color. Puff, puff, puff. A series of light-popping sounds, like beans being cooked, emerged one after another. Around these small demonic beasts, thumb-sized whirlpools emerged. These whirlpools sprayed out a thin mist of blood, which fused with the aura of the blood on the corpses of the small demonic beasts and spread in all directions. Whoa! As the thin blood mist spread out, the power of the stars and moon descended from the starry sky onto their bodies. These several small demonic beasts suddenly flew up from the giant tree and chased after Shui Mingzi and the other humans. Just as these small demonic beasts left, the dozen or so small demonic beasts that were affected by the blood mist also flew up and chased after them. Behind these dozen or so small demonic beasts, the blood mist that had doubled in size once again spread out in all directions. In the time it took to finish a cup of tea, the blood mist had already covered several dozen kilometers of the mountain forest. The aura of the blood mist had also drifted far away with the night wind. In the air above the blood mist, several thousand small demonic beasts fearlessly chased after the human nascent soul cultivators who could kill them with a wave of their hand. What's going on? Although Ao Zhantian had flown far away, his spiritual sense had remained on the giant tree this entire time. He had clearly seen everything that had happened. He couldn't believe that the death of a small demonic beast would cause such a huge change. Sigh. At this point, Shui Mingzi could only sigh. He looked at Cultivator Xian and the others and explained, "Fellow Taoist Ao, these demonic beasts are called moth-gathering beasts. They are demonic beasts that I've only recently learned about. There were many moth-gathering beasts around Chongqing Mountain. Their divine arts weren't strong, but they were united. If one moth-gathering beast was attacked, all the moth-gathering beasts within a few miles, or even dozens of miles, would receive the news and attack together. What's most inconceivable is that when these moth-gathering beasts smell the blood of their own kind, they will immediately go berserk and their abilities will multiply. What's more, the moth-gathering beasts have the word moth-gathering beast in their name, which means that they're like moths that fly into a flame. Once these moth-gathering beasts go berserk, unless there's a special reason, they'll definitely chase after their prey with no regard for their lives. With that said, Shui Mingzi raised a hand and pointed at the shadows that were flying out from the darkness behind him. He smiled bitterly and said, "As for the rest, I don't think I need to explain further, do I?" Looking at the black shadows that were flying out like waves, the cultivator surnamed Xian was also helpless. He could only open his mouth again and say, "This junior really doesn't know, hee." Shui Mingzi smiled faintly and waved his hand. This matter isn't entirely fellow Daoist Xian Ping's fault. It's also this old man's fault. Although this old man said that we can't casually attack them, I didn't mention any specific taboos. These moth-gathering beasts look nothing more than ordinary cattle and sheep on the hidden Immortal continent. Who would have thought that they would have such powerful natures? Yes, yes. The cultivator named Xian Ping's expression relaxed slightly. After a few words of agreement, he hurriedly asked, "Senior Shui, what should we do now?" This junior sees that Senior already has a card up his sleeve. Xian Ping's words weren't without a hint of flattery, but Shui Mingzi was very pleased. He glanced at Ao Zhantian and the group of nascent soul cultivators and said with a smile, "Since all of you have taken a liking to this old man and fellow Daoist Ao has invited me with all his might, how could this old man not do his homework? This old man has been in the Thousand Demons sacred realm for over 200 years. Although I don't dare to say that I know the habits of the demon race like the back of my hand, I still have some understanding of them. Just now, all of you saw that although these moth-gathering beasts are arrogant, they are most afraid of the eagle bats. In other words, we just saw the demon race. As long as we get too close to the eagle bats, these moth-gathering beasts will definitely retreat. So that's how it is." Ao Zhantian came to a realization and nodded. "We'll have to trouble you, fellow Daoist."
But
After Xian Ping, another nascent soul mid-stage cultivator, was rather puzzled. He asked, "This junior still has a question, but I don't know if I should ask it." "Su Tingzi." Ao Zhantian glared at the cultivator and scolded, "If you have something to say, then say it. This is the Thousand Demons sacred realm, and there are many demon beasts and demon races all around us. Our situation is also very dangerous, so what's there to be afraid of?" "Yes, yes," Su Tingzi hurriedly said. "Senior Shui said that these moth-gathering beasts are most afraid of the eagle bats, but why do these moth-gathering beasts keep moving around the eagle bats? They should be far away from them." Su Tingzi hurriedly smiled at Shui Mingzi and said, "Senior Shui, I'm just a little confused. I don't have any other intentions." Hee, it's fine." Shui Mingzi was constantly paying attention to the movements behind him as he flew. When he heard Su Tingzi's words, he hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Don't Confucian cultivators have a famous saying? What you know is what you know, and what you don't know is what you don't know. It's a pity that I can't give you a very satisfactory answer, because I'm not a demon race cultivator, so I can't answer your question. However, don't the pigs, goats, geese, and other animals all fear the humans in the mortal world? Don't they all live beside humans every day? The eagle bats are demon race cultivators, and the moth-gathering beasts are merely demon beasts. That's all there is to it." Senior Shui is right. Su Tingzi was completely convinced. "I've overestimated the intelligence of the moth-gathering beasts." Ao Zhantian was getting a little impatient. He didn't dare to release his divine sense too much, and a strange light flashed through his eyes. "Fellow Daoist Shui, the eagle bats from before seem to be nearby. Why haven't we seen them yet? Moreover, too many of these moth-gathering beasts have already been alerted." Shui Mingzi was also helpless. He also wanted to escape the pursuit of the moth-gathering beasts as soon as possible. After all, a dozen or so human cultivators were nothing in this dark night, but hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of crazed moth-gathering beasts were a different story. Unfortunately, he had to bring these dozen or so nascent soul cultivators with him, so he couldn't use teleportation. Thus, Shui Mingzi pondered for a moment and said, "Fellow Taoists, using the eagle bats is merely a risky tactic. Those moth-gathering beasts are no ordinary demon race cultivators. If I don't control the scale well, I might end up in a predicament where I'm attacked from two directions. Therefore, if there are any changes later, you must remember the other thing that we discussed earlier." Right at this moment, before Shui Mingzi could finish speaking, a pitch-black shadow silently flew out from a hill several kilometers away. As soon as the shadow appeared, a faint fluctuation immediately disappeared into the void from where the shadow was, and the space around the shadow began to warp slightly. Shui Mingzi didn't release his divine sense, so he naturally didn't discover what was happening several kilometers away. However, he was a descendant of the demon race, and his bloodline had an innate instinct. As soon as the black shadow appeared, he immediately became vigilant. His explanation came to an abrupt halt, and he immediately raised his head to look in the direction of the black shadow. "Who's there?" Not only Shui Mingzi, but even Ao Zhantian also became vigilant. His expression suddenly froze, and he turned to look in the direction of the black shadow. The shock in his heart forced him to blurt out a warning. As for Xiao Hua, he transformed into an ordinary boa dragon of the demon clan and flew towards Shui Mingzi and the others. However, after flying for about 1,000 kilometers, a powerful origin intent swept over from the peak of a mountain. When the Yuanwu landed on Xiao Hua's body, a bloodthirsty aura immediately emerged from the Yuanwu. Xiao Hua's brows slightly furrowed as he stopped and cast a sidelong glance at the mountain peak. Under the stars and moon, he saw a bird that was close to 100 feet in size spreading its wings. Pillars of light from the stars and moon continuously landed on its wings. Within the pillars of light, the ferocious bird's eyes were clearly visible. Chapter 43:31. Humph. Xiao Hua snorted coldly and scanned the area with his divine sense. Buzz. Above the mountain peak, a huge divine sense came crashing down like a hammer. Not only did it seal the night sky, but it also scattered the light beam of the moon and stars. Ka. The ferocious bird turned pale with fright. It urged its demonic body, seemingly wanting to flee. Boom. A loud noise resounded. Dust and smoke suddenly rose from the mountain peak. Not only was the ferocious bird smashed down the cliff by the divine sense, even the summit of the mountain peak had collapsed by several tens of zhang due to Xiao Hua's divine sense. Looking at a few feathers flickering with starlight fluttering in the night sky, Xiao Hua's lips curled into a smile. He was about to move again. "Fellow Taoist." At that moment, Feng Wu's voice sounded. "Yuanya has something to talk to you about." "Yuanya's?" Xiao Hua was stunned for a moment before coming to a realization. When Xiao Hua had sent the disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range from the Pure Land of Ultimate Bliss, he had also asked Yuanya to lead the 3,000 disciples back. However, Yuanya had actually wanted to return to the Shenhua continent first. Xiao Hua had not known what was going on and had hurriedly taken him back to the Shenhua continent, allowing the 3,000 disciples to follow Fu Jiwen and the others back first. After that, because of Lu Yi and Jiang Hong, Xiao Hua was in a bad mood and forgot to send Yuanya out of the Shenhua continent. Since the Thunderbolt Immortal was building the teleportation array in the Western Paradise, no one told Xiao Hua about the matters in the Shenhua continent. Xiao Hua caused a ruckus in the Dragon Palace and rushed to the 1,000-demon sacred realm, sending all the disciples out. He only forgot about Yuanya on the Shenhua continent. Xiao Hua looked around and teleported to the peak of the mountain. He took out the Kunlun mirror and released Yuanya from the light beam. Yuanya looked at the dragon-shaped demon in front of him in surprise, and then looked at the Kunlun mirror in Xiao Hua's hand. He bowed and said, "Disciple greets Uncle Masters." Xiao Hua didn't say anything. Under the moonlight, he carefully sized up this disciple in front of him. Yuanya was the first disciple he met after he got lost in the hidden Immortal continent. He was also the one who had the most rough experience, especially Yuanya's heart. He was hurt by his parents when he was young, and then by Biyao. It could be said that in Yuanya's heart, the human race couldn't compare to the demon race, or even the demon race. Suddenly, Xiaohua wanted to go to the mystic Jade Dark Forest where Yuanya came from and see if he could find his true origin. Martial uncle? Xiaohua was somewhat absent-minded. Yuanya didn't dare to get up. He hesitated for a moment before asking in a low voice, "Where is disciple's master?" And Xiaohua responded. He put away the Kunlun mirror and the 1,000 illusion pearl and returned to his original appearance. He smiled and said, "Master is right here. Disciple, what do you need?" Master. Disciple greets master. Seeing Xiaohua appear, Yuanya wasn't surprised. He bowed once again. His etiquette was very thorough. Although Yuanya's thoughts were pure, he also understood that his master's abilities were vast, and he definitely couldn't measure them. It wouldn't be strange for him to transform into anything. However, after bowing, a hesitant expression appeared on Yuanya's face.
"Oh.
Previously, I had forgotten that you were on the Shenhua continent. Your disciples have already followed Fujiwen back to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. This place is already in the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. You don't have to return." Xiaohua thought that Yuanya wanted to volunteer to return to the hidden Immortal continent, so he hurriedly helped Yuanya up apologetically. However, the moment Xiaohua helped Yuanya up, Xiaohua suddenly froze. He looked at Yuanya with wide eyes and said in surprise, "That's not right."
"Yeah.
"When have you been so polite to your master?" "Ha ha ha, so that's how it is." At this point, Xiaohua had already seen the expression on Yuanya's face. At this moment, after Xiaohua exposed him, a trace of embarrassment appeared on Yuanya's face. Thinking about how Yuanya wanted to return to the Shenhua continent after leaving the Shenhua continent, how could Xiaohua not know what Yuanya wanted to say to him? "Master." Yuanya was actually a little bashful and said in a low voice, "So you already know." Disciple knew that I couldn't hide it from master. Yes, yes. Xiaohua's mood was really good. It was as if the stars in the sky were shining brightly. He nodded vigorously and said, "Master didn't know before, but now I know." "Tell me, who is she?" Master doesn't seem to have heard Jiang Hong and Chang Yuan mention it. Yeah, you hit it so well. Not to mention master. Even your uncle master, Lei Ting, didn't know. Saying that, Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror again and prepared to invite Yuanya's lover out from the Shenhua continent. "Master." Yuanya replied in a low voice, "It's just a recent matter. Junior brother and junior sister don't know, disciple also don't know, so I want master to make a decision for disciple." Xiaohua smiled and pinched his chin as he looked at Yuanya, whose face was a little red and whose breathing was a little hurried. How could he not know that Yuanya, this 1,000-year-old iron tree, had already bloomed? His heart that was hurt by Diawu had already healed. Xiaohua sighed. That day, Master had said that he would find you a fairy maiden from the Immortal Palace, but who would have thought? You were so quick to act and actually found a soulmate in the Fortune Gate. It seems that Master has broken his promise. Master, is a fairy. Yuanya was anxious and actually misunderstood Xiaohua's meaning. He hurriedly replied, "Ah?" Xiaohua was dumbfounded and said in shock, "You're talking about Yes." Yuanya saw Xiaohua so shocked and didn't know what happened. The embarrassment on his face immediately disappeared and he replied, "It's ah." She said she's not a cultivator from the Shenhua continent. She's from the 10,000 demon realm. She's a fairy. Looking at Yuanya's anxious appearance, Xiaohua looked at the Kunlun mirror in his hand. As his fingers shook, the Kunlun mirror looked like an ordinary bronze mirror in Xiaohua's hand. The moonlight was like water, sprinkling on the surface of the mirror. Light and shadow flickered from time to time, making Xiaohua a little confused. Seeing Xiaohua frowning and not answering, Yuanya's heart tightened. He didn't dare to say anything, biting his lips and staring at the ground. Xiao Hua's heart was really in a mess. The space was his biggest secret. In his space, Xiao Huang was the first to enter, and Dai was the second. From the moment he saved Dai from the Sky Patrol City, Xiao Hua didn't intend to let Dai know his secret, and also didn't intend to let Dai know that he was the one who saved her. Therefore, after Dai's injuries were healed, Xiao Hua placed a restriction in the space near Dai to prevent Dai from discovering anything from the space. Xiao Hua was waiting for a suitable opportunity to throw Dai out of the space, just like the rainbow-colored conch. Of course, this suitable place should be the Dawn Rain continent. However, before he could return to the Dawn Rain continent, Dai actually became acquainted with Yuanya. Thinking of Dai's intelligence when she was a child, thinking of Dai going through the yin and yang in his space, and then looking at the simple and honest disciple in front of him, Xiao Hua didn't need to think to know what Dai had learned from Yuanya. He also knew how much Dai knew about him. The idea of killing Dai was something that Xiao Hua had never thought of, even now, when his secret might be exposed. Xiao Hua sighed and prepared to enter the space. He really didn't understand. How could Dai, who was in the restriction, see Yuanya? However, just as his mind was about to move, he smiled again. Yuanya said it clearly, but he only saw Dai recently, and no one knew what happened in the space recently. The wind and thunder sources entered the space, causing the space to advance. It must be at this time that a crack appeared in his seal on the space, giving Dai a chance to escape. AI. Xiao Hua sighed. The Kunlun mirror in his hand stopped flipping, looked up at the full moon, and said after a while, "Fate. Wonderful." Xiao Hua's thoughts were thousands of times, but at this time, he could only turn it into this sentence. Thinking about it, one was the monster clan of the 10,000 demon realm, the other was the wolf of the hidden immortal continent. The two were originally unrelated, but because of the existence of Xiao Hua, the two were pulled together. If it wasn't fate, how could it be explained? And Xiao Hua was really the Moon Lord once again. Master. Seeing Xiao Hua sigh, Yuanya tentatively said, "Disciple." Hee. A smile appeared on Xiao Hua's face, and he sat down cross-legged and asked, "Disciple, don't worry. Master will support any choice you make. Tell me, how did you meet Dai?" Seeing Xiao Hua's kind tone, Yuanya's heart was relieved. He sat opposite Xiao Hua and said, "When Master was in the great desolate continent, didn't you want to bestow the demonic spear to Disciple? It was just that Disciple was unable to control the demonic intent in the demonic spear, so Master didn't give the demonic spear to Disciple. After Disciple comprehended the demonic intent in the demonic spear, it was difficult for Disciple to calm down, so Disciple returned to the Shenhua continent and found a place to gain experience. Just when Disciple flew to a barren place, a strange crack suddenly appeared in the air. That crack was very strange, and ordinary magical powers couldn't break it. Disciple used the Big Dipper magical fist to pass through by luck, and there, Disciple saw a lake as quiet as a fairyland, and Dai, who was as white as snow, was flying by the lake. After Yuanya finished talking about the process of how he met Dai, Xiao Hua secretly nodded. Just as Xiao Hua had expected, the spatial anomaly had destroyed the restriction sealing Dai, However, Dai didn't escape from the restriction as Xiao Hua had expected, and instead, she chose to stay by the lake. Yuanya's intrusion was purely coincidental, and this made Dai very happy. Yuanya's sincerity and innocence made Dai have a good impression of him. Dai tried to ask Yuanya about the Shenhua continent situation, and Yuanya didn't hide anything. He even told her about the Fortune Gate situation, as well as the conflict between the Liu family and the Yu family. Dai really didn't expect that there was such a wonderful world around her, and it was far from the barren desert she had imagined. Chapter 43:32. Dai naturally asked about Little Yellow and Little Black, but Yuanya didn't know much about them, so he didn't say much. Then, Yuanya accompanied Dai to cultivate by the lake. The following days were unforgettable for Yuanya. The lake was beautiful, birds were singing, flowers were fragrant, and beautiful women were accompanying him. Yuanya, who had been lonely for thousands of years, seemed to understand something, and Dai also saw warmth and love in Yuanya's eyes. Xiao Hua, of course, didn't know about this. As soon as he returned to the Western Paradise, he dragged his disciples out of Shenhua continent and didn't care about Yuanya's location at all. Yuanya was erased from Dai's sight by Xiao Hua. Seeing that he was about to leave Dai for the hidden Immortal continent, Yuanya didn't know how long he would be gone. He wanted to go back to Shenhua continent to say goodbye to Dai. Although Dai was from the monster race, she was still a woman. When she saw Yuanya suddenly leave, she thought that he had met with an accident and was heartbroken. But later, after careful consideration, she felt that things were not so simple and became suspicious. When Yuanya appeared in front of Dai in a panic, Dai naturally asked him why he left. Yuanya was a very sincere person, and he had answered all of Dai's questions without holding anything back. However, this was only limited to Shenhua continent. He didn't say a word about Xiaohua or the Kunlun mirror. But this time, the disappearance put Yuanya in a difficult position. He didn't want to deceive Dai and he didn't want to reveal the secret of the Kunlun Wonderland before Xiaohua disagreed. Therefore, he answered honestly. He wanted to report to his master first before answering Dai Dai was even more interesting. She had never asked Yuanya about his master's name, and when Yuanya mentioned Xiaohua earlier, he only said master. Only now did Dai realize something. She only asked Yuanya one question and didn't ask him about the reason for his disappearance. This question, of course, was Xiaohua's name. Disciple, you mean? Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and looked at Yuanya meaningfully. He asked, Dai only asked for master's name and then didn't ask about the fortune gate anymore. She only taught you how to be filial in front of master, right? Yes. Yuanya was never one to hide anything, so he answered honestly. Xiaohua laughed. In fact, there was no need to ask more. Xiaohua. These two words were enough for Dai to understand everything. Xiaohua didn't know what Dai and the Empress had encountered in the Xiuyu continent. However, Xiaohua knew that Dai definitely knew about Xiao Huang and him. Since Dai had already seen Xiao Huang on the Shenhua continent and heard his name now, how could Dai not know that he was the one who had rescued her? How could someone as smart as Dai interrogate the honest Yuanya? She just had to wait for him to break it down with her. As for Dai teaching Yuanya to be filial to him, it was definitely because she didn't want Yuanya to be neglected in the sect and thus attract his attention. Of course, Dai and Yuanya had only known each other for a short period of time. It was still too far away to talk about marriage. However, from Dai's narrow-mindedness, Xiaohua had already seen some shadows of Changyuan and Jianghong. Dai is from the demon race of the 10,000 demon realm. She is also a servant that the Empress values. There is no need to talk about her origin. Xiaohua thought to himself, just based on the fact that she had experienced the separation of yin and yang in this Zhao space, her future advancement is definitely not comparable to ordinary demons. How can such a demon race, with an immeasurable future, be won over by others? Now that she can hit it off with Yuanya, it is both Yuanya's blessing and this Zhao's opportunity. How can Xiaohua give it up in vain? This Xiao was previously worried about the leakage of the space's secret. Now that this Xiao has the Kunlun mirror as a cover, why would I still worry about this? Moreover, this Xiao didn't dare to ask about the Empress of the 10,000 demon realm because I was afraid that I didn't have the strength and would cause more trouble. Now that this Xiao has the cultivation of the 9th level of essence power, I have reached the peak of the 3 continents, and even the Xiaoyu continent. No matter what the Empress of the 10,000 demon realm encounters in the Xiaoyu continent, this Xiao should be qualified to participate. It seems that the heavens have arranged for me to meet Dai. Thinking of this, Xiaohua asked again. Yeah. Then the purpose of you looking for Master is to let Master explain to Dai. Yes. Yuanya nodded and said, without Master's consent, this disciple doesn't dare to tell Dai. Good. Xiaohua smiled and said, you did well. Master asks you, do you like Dai very much? This. Yuanya's face was a little hot. He hesitated a little shyly and then nodded. Yes, master. Does she like you? Xiao Hua asked. If it was someone else, they would have hesitated, but Yuanya answered without hesitation, yes. On the contrary, Xiao Hua was a little hesitant. After a moment, he softly probed, this feeling, is it the same as Diawu? It's somewhat similar, but also somewhat different. Yuanya still didn't hesitate and blurted out.
He must have thought for a long time.
Xiao Hua wanted to ask again, but his lips moved a few times and he gave up. The so-called men, no matter how old they were, would be abnormally ignorant in front of the woman they liked. His feelings for Hong Xia Fairy, Xue Xue, and Princess Xian were all tangled up. What qualifications did he have to teach Yuanya?
Some things that it was better not to ask.
Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said, in the future, if Dai asks you anything, you don't have to hide it from her. Yes, master. Yuanya's answer was unchanged, but there was a hint of joy and relief in his tone. As he spoke, the Kunlun mirror in Xiao Hua's hand vibrated, and Dai was invited out from Shenhua continent. Dai was naturally confused, but she already had a premonition. As soon as the shackles on her body were released, she immediately urged her demonic power to be on guard. When she saw Yuanya's concerned gaze and Xiao Hua's unchanging appearance, an indescribable sadness rose from the bottom of her heart. She didn't hesitate and didn't doubt Xiao Hua's strength. She immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed, saying, Spiritual Master Xiao, please go and save my lady. Yuanya was stunned. He looked at Dai in disbelief and then at his master. It was obvious that the fairy in his heart knew his master, and his master didn't mention this just now. Xiao Hua raised his hand slightly and said, Dai, get up. No, if spiritual master doesn't save my lady, Dai won't get up for the rest of my life. Dai knew that her lady was indebted to Xiao Hua, and she had seen Xiao Hua since she was young. Now that Yuanya was by her side, she simply acted coquettishly. Xiao Hua still helped Dai up. Even if Dai struggled to resist, she still stood up in front of an irresistible force like the power of heaven and earth.
Dai.
Xiao Hua smiled bitterly and raised his hand to point around. It's not that I don't want to save her lady. If I didn't want to save her, I wouldn't have saved you years ago. But look at where we are. When I was in Xiaoyu continent, I didn't have the ability to save her. But now, I have the ability, but I can't return to Xiaoyu continent. 10,000 demon realm? Dai slightly released her yuan shin and looked around. She immediately cried out involuntarily, but a moment later, she came to her senses. No, this is not the 10,000 demon realm. Where is this? It doesn't matter where this is. The important thing is, I can't find the way back to Xiaoyu continent. I can't return to Xiaoyu continent. Xiao Hua replied, So, even if I know that something big has happened to her lady, I'm afraid I can't save her.
Sigh.
Dai naturally knows Xiao Hua's difficulties. She lets out a long sigh and says with tears in her eyes, Pitiful Nyang Nyang. Even if she's really in the Dawn Rain continent right now, in that great array, she won't be able to survive these thousands of years. Xiao Hua opened his mouth and wanted to explain the problem of time, but he hesitated. Instead of giving Dai hope, it was better to let her be at a loss. Xiao Hua understood the principle that the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Tell me about her lady. Xiao Hua was indeed very concerned about what happened to her lady and couldn't help but ask. Sigh. It's been more than 7,000 years. At this time, Dai-er's heart was cold, and she was unwilling to mention it again. Dai-er, if you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Yuanya said with some heartache, Master won't force you. Dai-er smiled and nodded at Yuanya, I know. In fact, Daoist Xiao can save Dai-er. Dai-er is already very happy. Now that I have met you, Dai-er doesn't know how to thank the heavens.
Now,
Dai-er only has one wish, and that is to complete her lady's last wish. How could there be secrets in a woman's mouth? Especially when one was a man she had a good impression of, and the other was an elder who had helped her and had the ability to help her. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to say anything more, Dai told him about how she and her lady were plotted against by Dongshan Yi. So that's how it is. After listening to the end, Xiao Hua understood. Dai escaped from Dongshan Yi's hands, but after all, she was seriously injured and fell into the hands of the human race. She was brought to Sentry City to be auctioned. If she hadn't met him, she would have died long ago. Now Dai has no one to rely on. Daoist Master is in charge. Dai bowed again and said while crying, "If Daoist Master has a chance, please take Dai back to the 10,000 demon realms so that Dai can pass on her lady's message." Dai was very obedient and didn't mention her lady's favor to Xiao Hua, only saying please. How could Xiao Hua not understand? He sighed in his heart at Dai's cleverness and nodded again. "Don't worry, I will never forget the grace of her lady. As long as there is a chance, I will definitely fulfill your wish." Speaking of this, Xiao Hua glanced at the surprised Yuanya and said, "Even if I can't fulfill it, I will let my disciple fulfill it on my behalf." Chapter 43:33. Thank you, spiritual master. Dai thanked him shyly. However, after a few breaths, Dai suddenly understood Xiao Hua's meaning. She raised her head in disbelief and shouted, "Spiritual master means there is no other meaning." Xiao Hua replied faintly, "It's just that from the 3 continents to the 10,000 demon realm, this Xiao doesn't know where the space meridian is. This Xiao doesn't have much time to find it. This junior also doesn't know the space meridian from the Dawn Rain continent to the 10,000 demon realm." Dai suppressed the indescribable excitement in her heart. She called herself a junior and whispered, "But the thing that Empress gave this junior must have something related to this." "Good." Xiao Hua nodded. "This matter will be handed over to you, Enya. My disciple is slow-witted and his cultivation is not good. I'm afraid he won't be able to contribute much to Empress." "Not at all." Dai was still a little naive and blurted out, "Yuanya's mind is pure and his cultivation is excellent." After saying these 2 sentences, Dai immediately woke up and lowered her voice a lot. "With his help, this junior will be a lot more relieved." "That's good." Xiao Hua smiled slightly and stretched out his hand. The Bone Dragon Demon's Spear appeared in his hand. As soon as the demon's spear appeared, a vision appeared immediately. Not to mention the lingering demon chi, just the bone dragon on the demon's spear made Dai turn pale with fright. "Disciple." Xiao Hua handed the bone spear to Yuanya and said, "This thing is a demon spear. It contains the remnant soul of an ancient demon dragon. Ordinary demons don't dare to use it. Although Master has promised you before that I will give it to you, why didn't I dare to give it to you? On one hand, your heart force is still unable to control the demon soul. On the other hand, your heart is still unable to control itself. Now that Master has seen Dai, I know that your heart is close to perfection. This demon's spear should be given to you. However, Master still says the same thing. The spear is a demon spear, but the person is a righteous person. The demon spear is a murderous weapon in the hands of the demon race, but in the hands of a righteous person, it is a sharp weapon that upholds the righteousness of the world." Yuanya looked at the demonic spear in front of him and solemnly accepted it. Seeing the demonic energy enter his body, Yuanya's body flashed with red light. His eyes were filled with determination as he replied, "Yes, Master, this disciple understands." Xiao Hua looked at Dai's rather worried expression and said with a smile, "Among this Zhao's few disciples, I'm afraid that Horizon's cultivation is the lowest. And this demonic sphere is the most powerful magic treasure that I have bestowed upon my disciple. However, he was the most suitable person to use magic artifacts. Don't worry, as long as you can use the Devil's Spear freely, killing Dongshan Yi and avenging the Empress will be a piece of cake." Dai was from the Flying Feather upper race of the 10,000 demon realm. How could she not see the power of the demonic spear? Her heart was filled with admiration. Not to mention the Dawn Rain continent, even in the 10,000 demon realm, how many people could control the demonic spear? Now that Yuanya could use the Devil's Spear, killing Dongshani would be a piece of cake, and dominating the 10,000 demon realm wouldn't be too difficult, right? But could Yuanya control such a demonic spear? Would she be able to protect him? For a moment, Dyer was a little absent-minded, but after a few breaths, eagerness appeared in her eyes again. She respectfully kowtowed and said, "Thank you, spiritual master. Get up." Dyer didn't say much, but Xiaohua heard a lot of meaning. He helped Dyer up and revealed the Kunlun mirror in his hand. "This Xiao won't say anything unnecessary. This is the treasure that I saved you from before. There is a Kunlun wonderland inside, which is the Shunhua continent that Yuanya mentioned. You can accompany Yuanya back and cultivate well. I'll leave the matter of avenging the Empress to you." Kunlun wonderland? Kunlun mirror? Dyer couldn't help but exclaim, "Spiritual master actually has such a treasure, no wonder." Xiaohua's heart moved, and he asked curiously, could it be that the Kunlun mirror is also famous in the 10,000 demon realm? Yes. Dyer nodded and said, "This junior heard the Empress mention the treasures of several realms, and this Kunlun mirror is one of them." And Xiaohua wanted to ask what the treasures the Empress had mentioned were, but he was suddenly shocked and hurriedly released his divine sense. After he saw the situation in the distance clearly, he unconsciously stood up from the mountain peak and asked curiously, "It's only been a short while. How could such a big mess be stirred up? What's wrong, spiritual master?" Dyer was also stunned and wanted to release her divine sense. Xiaohua stopped her and said, "This has nothing to do with you. You don't have to get involved. Go back and cultivate first." "Yes, master." Yuanya answered honestly and said to Dyer, "Dyer, master wants to take us into the Kunlun wonderland. Don't resist." Dyer smiled sweetly and replied, "Yes, I know." Xiaohua shook the Kunlun mirror, and his divine sense swept the two into the Shanhua continent. The Kunlun mirror in his hand shook and was about to be put into the space. After thinking for a while, he pulled the black bear, white lion, and golden eagle out of the space and whispered a few instructions. The three demons didn't dare to delay and hurriedly left. At this time, Xiaohua put the 1,000 illusion pearl in his mouth again. After the body of the python dragon appeared, clouds and mist appeared around his body and hurriedly flew forward. Shui Mingzi and the others noticed something strange and hurriedly looked up. Pa, pa, pa. Just like before, a series of small explosions appeared in the void around them. Obviously, in just a few breaths, the fluctuations emitted by the black shadow had swept across a distance of several miles and landed where they were. Cough, cough. The sound of old man Ruo Tong coughing sounded once again. From the source of the sound, an eagle bat that was several hundred feet in size flew across the night sky like a ghost and quietly appeared in the vision of Shui Mingzi and the others. Roar, roar, roar. In the wake of the eagle bat's roar, fist-sized vortexes appeared out of thin air. Just as these vortexes appeared, countless thumb-sized pillars of starlight and moonlight blasted into them, creating a strange sound like the howling of the wind. The space around Shui Mingzi and the others was like a huge rock that was filled with holes in the wind. Quick! Shui Mingzi was shocked at first, but then he was overjoyed. He waved his hand and said, "We've already attracted the eagle bat. Quickly, fly back and lure the eagle bat to force the gathering moth beast to retreat. Then we can escape." Diverting trouble was naturally the human race's specialty. Without waiting for Shui Mingzi to say anything, Ao Zhantian pointed at Xian Ping and Su Tingzi and said, "According to the previous plan, the two of you will lead 4 cultivators each. Fellow Daoist Shui and I will lead 5 each. We'll lure the eagle bat to fight the gathering moth beast and then take advantage of the chaos to escape. Yes?" Xian Ping and Su Tingzi nodded without hesitation. Their bodies moved, and they turned around to charge at the gathering moth beast that was chasing after them like a flash flood. 8 of the dozen or so cultivators also arrived like the wind. Their bodies flashed with brilliance as they prepared to face the attack. Remember, seeing the cultivators activate their magic power, Shui Mingzi felt an indescribable shock in his heart. He couldn't help but transmit his voice again. Don't attack recklessly. We'll prioritize escaping. As long as the gathering moth beast stops chasing us, we'll leave immediately. Fuck. Ao Zhangtian let out a strange cry, and his figure also rushed in another direction. He even said, "This daddy here is also a great master of the 5th level of elemental energy. Why do I feel like a grandson here? Why don't we just fly away? Why do we have to be so cautious?" Hee, as the saying goes, even a powerful dragon can't suppress a local snake. Shui Mingzi's figure also flew in another direction. He chuckled and said, "Although fellow Daoist Ao is a descendant of the dragon tribe, it's better to keep a low profile in the territory of the demonic beast tribe. If we just fly away, these gathering moth beasts definitely won't be able to catch us. However, if more and more gathering moth beasts appear, we'll attract the attention of other demonic beasts. We'll encounter even more difficulties in the future."
Boom, boom, boom.
Shui Mingzi's voice was quickly drowned out by the sounds of explosions. The whirlpool that was several hundred feet wide suddenly expanded, and like a hurricane, it covered an area of several dozen miles. Wherever the ripples passed, not only did the giant trees turn into dust, even the surface of the mountain rocks were shattered. Dust filled the air, and the ripples also landed around the dozen or so cultivators. Ao Zhangtian and the others had already activated their abilities. Wherever the ripples passed, the power of the stars and moon would explode like jade talismans, causing the light around Ao Zhangtian and the others to flicker like candles in the wind. Good heavens! Ao Zhangtian naturally didn't care about the attacks of the flying eagles. He let out an exaggerated cry as he activated his magic power. A faint layer of light around his body suddenly expanded like a thin layer of mist. This wasn't even a domain yet, and it completely blocked the ripples several feet away. In the distance, Shui Mingzi looked thoughtfully at the dragon-shaped light around Ao Zhangtian's body. The corners of his lips curled up slightly as he raised his left hand and made a strange hand seal. A layer of ripples appeared out of thin air. When the ripples landed on the ripples, they only managed to shatter the surface layer of the ripples. As for the other nascent soul cultivators like Su Tingzi and Xian Ping, even though they didn't dodge as easily as Shui Mingzi and the others, it wasn't too difficult for them to block the ripples. Slap, 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 slap. Following the shattering of the giant tree beneath everyone, the power of the ripples was greatly diminished. Even so, the sound of moth-gathering beasts falling to the ground could still be heard in the distance. Shui Mingzi was right. The flying eagles were indeed the nemesis of the moth-gathering beasts. However, there was still some distance between them and the moth-gathering beasts. These red-eyed, frenzied moth-gathering beasts had no idea that the flying eagles had appeared and that they had fallen into the trap of a dozen or so humans. Cough, cough, cough. Seeing that its attack was ineffective and that the dozen or so humans who were emitting strange auras were still fleeing, the eagle bat was very embarrassed and angry. Its monster body, which was hundreds of feet in size, spread its wings and flew across the night sky. After leaving a beautiful and mournful shadow in the night sky, it let out a sound that was several times louder than before. Puff, 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 puff. This time, the direction of the ripples was even clearer. The ripples fell into the air and spread in the direction that Shui Mingzi and the others were fleeing. Chapter 43-34. Whoa! The space within a few kilometers began to rumble as tornadoes appeared. These tornadoes crushed the giant trees into dust, and even the shadows under the moonlight were somewhat distorted. The powerful ripples first rushed toward a nascent soul cultivator behind Su Tingzi. That nascent soul cultivator calmly formed a seal, and the protective light around him produced strands of spiral-like crystal threads. These crystal threads intertwined around the cultivator's body, creating a net that was even denser than normal. The ripples only dimmed the light, but they couldn't shake the net at all. However, it was also at this moment that the ripples swept past the cultivator's head, and 3 to 5 strange demonic characters suddenly appeared in the light. The demonic characters crashed into the cultivator's protective light, and a dong 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 sound rang out like a golden bell. Hiss! The nascent soul cultivator was caught off guard, and he sucked in a breath of cold air. His Niwen palace shook violently, and he couldn't maintain his balance. He fell rapidly downward.
Ouch.
Just as the nascent soul cultivator fell, Su Tingzi and the others were also affected, and they all fell. However, it only lasted for a short while before the group of cultivators once again activated their secret techniques to stabilize their bodies. However, when they felt the tremors in their Niwen palace, their originally confident faces turned serious once again. After all, the hawkbats were good at sound attacks, which was the weakness of normal human cultivators, especially when it came to attacking the Niwen palace's divine sense. Quick! Su Tingzi felt a slight dizziness in his head, and he couldn't calm down for a long time. He hurriedly urged, "Let's lure the hawkbats to the moth-gathering beast, fellow Taoist." The nascent soul cultivator, who was attacked just now, rushed to Su Tingzi's side and transmitted his voice. "This is just a hawk bat." "Oh? Fellow Taoist Pahong, what did you say?" Su Tingzi was slightly taken aback, and he turned his head to ask, "Fellow Taoist, you can't hear I's voice transmission?" The cultivator named Pahong was stunned. He opened his mouth to transmit his voice, but he suddenly thought of something and hurriedly spoke. Su Tingzi's pupils shrank and he nodded. "That's right. When you were transmitting your voice just now, I only felt an ethereal voice. Damn it, the demons of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm are really weird." Pahong cursed. No wonder our Taoist cultivators would rather be bullied by Confucian cultivators on the hidden Immortal continent than come to the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm. This is the path of death for us Tao sect cultivators. Even if it's a dead end, I'm willing to take it for Taoist Master Shao. A trace of determination flashed through Su Tingzi's eyes, and then he asked, "Oh, what did you want to say to I?" It's nothing." Since he couldn't use voice transmissions, Pahong looked at the cultivators in the distance who were also acting strangely. He lowered his voice and said, "I just thought that since there's only one eagle bat behind us, as long as we can put some distance between us and let Senior Ao and Senior Shui lure the eagle bat to the front of the moth-gathering beast." Clap, clap, clap. Just as Pahong finished his sentence, more and more gathering moth beasts were killed by the shockwaves. Senior Shui's plan is indeed effective. We just need to hold on for a little longer." Su Tingzi naturally couldn't express his opinion on Pahong's words, and he only responded vaguely. However, before Su Tingzi could finish his sentence, several more coughs were heard from behind the crowd. Pahong was stunned and quickly turned his head to look. He saw that in the night sky, there were a few black figures that were dozens of feet in size. They had already started to attack like the eagle bat earlier. One of them was only a few miles away from them. "Damn it, I really jinxed it," Pahong said in a self-mocking tone. "I just said one eagle bat, and now several of them came. If I said 10, would 100 of them come?" Su Tingzi laughed and said, "If you had the ability to make prophecies come true, we wouldn't have to run so far away. You just need to stay in the hidden Immortal continent and give some pointers." Unfortunately, Su Tingzi's laughter was still echoing in the night sky. In the night sky several kilometers away, cough, 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 sounds kept coming. It was as if countless old men couldn't fall asleep at night and were coughing uncontrollably as they tossed and turned in bed. "Damn it!" Su Tingzi's smile froze on his face, and he hurriedly released his divine sense. However, wherever his divine sense scanned, the entire night sky was like a ravine, and the shockwaves were like mountains. His divine sense couldn't pass through at all, so how could he see the situation in the distance? As Su Tingzi cursed in his heart, he instantly understood Shui Mingzi's painstaking efforts. Although the gathering moth beasts were insignificant, the demons they attracted weren't easy to deal with. "Let's go." Su Tingzi didn't have time to check how many eagles were behind him. He waved his hand, and without any hesitation, he charged towards the incoming gathering moth beasts. At the same time, Su Tingzi opened his mouth, and the earthy yellow drumstick flew out again. However, just as this Dharma treasure landed in the sky, Su Tingzi immediately remembered Shui Mingzi's warning. He sucked in his mouth, and the Dharma treasure was put away again. Clap, clap, clap. Actually, Su Tingzi did not even need to do anything. Wherever the eagle bats waved past, no matter how many moth-gathering beasts there were, regardless of whether they had gone mad or not, they all fell from the sky without any resistance. Su Tingzi gradually approached the gathering moth beasts with Pong and the others. Once there was an opening, they would leave this dangerous place. Su Tingzi and the others naturally had a good plan. After all, the gathering moth beasts in front of them were too weak. No matter how many eagles there were behind them, as long as they charged into the gathering moth beasts, they could easily escape. However, at this moment, Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian's expressions changed. Su Tingzi and the others' divine sense was blocked by the shockwaves from the gathering moth beasts, and they couldn't see everything. Shui Mingzi was able to determine the number of gathering moth beasts just from the shockwaves. Ao Zhantian even used the secret technique of the Dragon Clan's descendants to see the situation behind him clearly. The development of the situation was far beyond Shui Mingzi and the others' expectations. At this moment, dozens of gathering moth beasts had already gathered in the night sky, and there was an endless stream of gathering moth beasts flying out from the hills behind them. Shui Mingzi and the others could only break through the frenzied gathering moth beasts if they wanted to. Fellow Taoist Ao. Shui Mingzi hurriedly transmitted his voice. Although his voice was faint, it could still be heard clearly. We seem to have fallen into a predicament. If we want to break through now, it might be a little troublesome. No worries. Ao Zhantian casually replied. He raised his hand proudly, as if he was about to take out some kind of magic treasure. Shui Mingzi hurriedly called out, Fellow Taoist Ao, please don't kill any more gathering moth beasts. These gathering moth beasts are a little strange today. Ao Zhantian frowned, but he didn't mind. He transmitted his voice. This old man understands. Inform the other cultivators to act according to the situation. Let's leave this place first.
All right.
Shui Mingzi hurriedly replied. He transmitted his voice to Su Tingzi and Xin Ping respectively. Woo-woo. However, at this moment, even more shockwaves surged forth like raging waves. The tranquility of the night sky was completely shattered, and tornadoes began to surge between the mountain peaks several hundred kilometers away. It was as if a storm was brewing. All of you, follow this old man, and leave first. Ao Zhantian heard Shui Mingzi's voice transmission, and a brilliant light erupted from his body. A layer of faintly discernible dragon figure emerged from the light, and a powerful aura also emanated from it. Yes, this junior understands. The 5 nascent soul cultivators were naturally no weaklings. The true essence within their bodies flowed rapidly under the urging of their nascent souls. Roar! Ao Zhantian opened his mouth and let out a furious roar. His body flew out like a dragon, and a long streak of light appeared in the night sky. The other 5 nascent soul cultivators also transformed into streaks of light and followed behind him. Fellow Taoist Ao, why are you like this? Shui Mingzi couldn't help but be shocked. Just as he was about to transmit his voice to ask where Ao Zhantian had gone, he saw that Ao Zhantian had already flown to the center of the gathering moth beasts. Shui Mingzi could only sigh and say to the people behind him, Let's go, there's no need for you to hide anything anymore. Since there was no need to hide anything, the nascent soul cultivators immediately unleashed their abilities and flew into the sky. At the sight of the dozen or so 4th-grade essence Chi human cultivators, the hawk bat that had attacked first immediately let out a cry of surprise. Its body stopped in midair, and its meaty wings also stopped flapping. A series of feather-like spikes appeared on the back of its wings, and they trembled slightly. The hawk bat's lifeless eyes flickered, and a grayish-white color flashed from within. It turned around and called out to the dozens of hawks behind it, Boy, who is the one who discovered the abnormality first? Reporting to the mountain patrol, it was this lowly one. The hawk bat that had flown out from the left said in a panicked voice. This lowly one had just returned from patrolling the Diluo area when I heard some strange movements in the illuminating forest. After investigating, I discovered the aura of humans. This lowly one knew that he was no match for them, so he didn't dare to disturb them. Damn it! The mountain patrol cursed angrily. Hurry and report this to the mountain lord. These human cultivators are not something that we can fight against. If they escape, I'm afraid that they'll affect the mountain lord's plans. But the hawkbat turned to the direction that Shui Mingzi and the others had flown off in. Its mouth and nose twitched for a moment, and it said with some confusion, "These humans have already flown far away. Hee. If this was a normal day, we naturally wouldn't be able to catch up to them." The mountain patroller raised his head to look at the sky. His lifeless eyes stared at the moon in the sky. His mouth and nose twitched a few times at the blood that was spreading through the mountain forest. Then, he grinned viciously and said indifferently, "But tonight is the night when the moths gather to mate. The blood of the female moth-gathering beasts is the medicine that stimulates the male moth-gathering beasts. These human cultivators have caused such a great commotion. They must have killed the male and female moth-gathering beasts. Moth-gathering beasts may be weak, but when a male moth-gathering beast goes berserk, even we have to avoid them." Yes. The hawkbat didn't dare to say anything else. Its body glided, and it landed on a distant hill. Chapter 43-35. Boys. The mountain patrol envoy let out a loud roar, and the strange demon language turned into a wave that reverberated within a radius of 10 kilometers. "Hurry up and focus. Once we kill these humans, I'll let you have a taste of fresh human blood. Fuck, after tasting the blood essence of a few humans, I'm dying for it." At this moment, from the distant hills, and even from the nearby forest, there were more than a few hundred eagles and bats flying out. There were probably more than 1,000 of them. When these eagles and bats heard the mountain patrol envoy's command, they all responded in unison. Bursts of explosive sounds resembled the sound of war drums as they charged in the direction where Shui Mingzi and the others had disappeared. The strangest thing was that their bodies were surrounded by waves of energy that blocked the divine sense of the humans. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't see them with their naked eyes, they wouldn't have been able to see them at all. How could Shui Mingzi and the others know that they had encountered a difficult problem? Each of them activated their bodies and calmly looked down at the gathering moth beasts that were frantically trying to attack them. A sense of pride involuntarily rose from the bottom of their hearts. Apart from Shui Mingzi, all the cultivators felt that their previous cautiousness was laughable. Of course, Shui Mingzi didn't place these gathering moth beasts in his eyes. He only released his divine sense and looked forward to avoid attracting even more powerful demons. Roar. Just as Ao Zhantian and the others passed through the center of the gathering moth beasts, a series of hysterical roars rang out from within the gathering moth beasts. The 100 or so gathering moth beasts closest to Ao Zhantian and the others suddenly leaped out from the gathering moth beasts and leaped high into the air. Pung pung pung. A series of explosions rang out at the same time, and the 100 or so gathering moth beasts turned into a bloody mist almost at the same time. Su Tingzi was slightly stunned. He looked down at his feet in disbelief and said in a low voice, "Fuck, what's wrong with these demonic beasts? Didn't fellow Taoist Xian just kill a gathering moth beast? Is there a need to be so aggressive? She actually self-destructed 100 or so gathering moth beasts. Are we going to be blamed for this?" Oh. Su Tingzi suddenly realized something and cried out in alarm. Oh no, could it be that fellow Taoist Xian just killed a beast king? If that's the case, then we'll be in big trouble. Bang.
Bang. Bang.
Before Su Tingzi could finish his sentence, another 100 or so moth-gathering beasts leaped into the air and turned into blood once again. A thick smell of blood filled the air. Boom, boom, boom. The power of hundreds of stars and moons fell from the sky and hit the blood. The blood turned into countless tiny stars and fell everywhere. Roar, roar. The blood-colored stars seeped into the bodies of the moth-gathering beasts. Many of the moth-gathering beasts that weren't flying very high suddenly roared. Strange blood-colored shadows appeared around their bodies, and their bodies seemed to have been flattened. Puff, puff, puff. Soft sounds of the blood shadows colliding rang out. Hundreds or even thousands of gathering moth beasts actually condensed together in a few breaths' time. Then, with a loud rumble, they charged up from a low altitude. When another pillar of light from the stars and the moon landed on this blood shadow, a blood shadow that was several hundred feet in size appeared in midair. The strange thing was that this huge blood shadow was completely different from the gathering moth beast. At first glance, it looked somewhat similar to an eagle bat. Strange. Even Shui Mingzi was perplexed, let alone Ao Zhantian. However, in the blink of an eye, Shui Mingzi understood why the gathering moth beasts were able to condense the blood shadow into an eagle bat. He couldn't help but smack his forehead with a smile. Fuck! In the eyes of the gathering moth beasts, the most powerful demonic beast in this world is the eagle bat. If they want to transform into an eagle bat, then their ultimate goal is to transform into an eagle bat. Isn't this what people call a frog at the bottom of a well? Shui Mingzi's smile didn't fade. All of a sudden, a strange force emerged from the blood mist beneath their feet. It was like a huge palm that grabbed at everyone. Oh! Shui Mingzi was startled. He quickly swept his divine sense behind him. Sure enough, the gathering moth beasts that had condensed into the shape of an eagle bat were also emitting a goo-goo sound. This sound reverberated through the night sky and instantly attracted the blood mist. Humph! Xian Ping, who was flying to Shui Mingzi's right, harumphed coldly at the sight of the force emerging from the blood mist. He waved his sleeves, and a powerful gust of wind appeared out of thin air, whistling through the air and crashing into the force. Boom! A loud explosion erupted. The gust of wind passed through the force, and even the blood mist before striking the huge trees and rocks beneath the blood mist. All of the trees and rocks within a radius of several thousand feet were reduced to dust by Xian Ping. However, what puzzled Xian Ping was that the force that had been pierced through by the gust of wind was completely unaffected. It continued to pounce toward him. Furthermore, as the force drew closer, Xian Ping felt the blood vessels in his body tighten. The blood essence within his body was about to rush out uncontrollably. Not good. Xian Ping was greatly alarmed. How could he still be concerned about using his magic power to escape? He hurriedly stopped and activated a mystic technique in an attempt to control his blood essence. However, as soon as he activated the mystic technique, his blood essence seemed to be boiling. It began to circulate wildly within his body without Xian Ping's control. This is the power of the bloodline? Ao Zhantian was a descendant of the dragon tribe, so he had the true blood of the dragon bloodline in his body. Under the force of the force, his true blood Dharma idol also began to surge, almost surging out of his body. Ao Zhantian hurriedly stabilized his Dharma idol and cried out in shock. How does this lowly little demonic beast know how to use the power of the bloodline? No one could answer Ao Zhantian's shock because the power of the bloodline was still a little weak at the beginning. However, as it enveloped everyone, an unending stream of force gushed out of the blood mist like a torrential flood. Damn it! Su Tingzi was also somewhat unable to control his own bloodline. He cursed angrily and slapped the top of his head. A ray of earthy yellow light surged out, and a small drumstick appeared. Su Tingzi pointed with his finger, and the drumstick transformed into a large hand, protecting his body. However, the calmness on Su Tingzi's face only lasted for a moment. He slapped the top of his head again, and another ray of earthy yellow light shot out. As Su Tingzi formed a hand seal, the hand of a nascent soul fell from the sky and sealed the surroundings. Phew! Su Tingzi let out a long sigh when he sensed that the power of the bloodline had weakened. Then, he activated his magic power again, without hesitation. Unexpectedly, Su Tingzi's body indeed flew out after activating his magic power. However, the power of the bloodline had increased by several times. Even a nascent soul cultivator like Su Tingzi's body was covered in blood spots. If he continued to move recklessly, his blood essence would seep out. Su Tingzi was dumbfounded. He hurriedly suppressed his body, not daring to activate too much of his true essence. He looked at the other 4 cultivators besides Su Tingzi. They were also in an awkward position, unable to advance or retreat. Gao Fei. Su Tingzi's thoughts raced, and he couldn't help but look up at the sky. However, this thought was forcefully suppressed by Su Tingzi. Shui Mingzi had said very clearly that in the Thousand Beasts sacred realm, very few demon cultivators would fly high in the sky unless they had great abilities. This was because the demon race was cruel and unruly by nature. They would attack anyone who displeased them. Flying high in the sky would easily be seen as a provocation by the demon race. Not to mention it was currently nighttime, and the power of the moon and stars was the densest. Countless demon cultivators were absorbing the moonlight to cultivate. Flying high in the sky was no different from seeking death. Gao Fei, hurry up and break free from the bloodline's control. At this moment, Ao Zhantian no longer cared about hiding anything. He raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Boom! A clear sound rang out, and a crimson dragon blood body flew out from his body. The moment the dragon blood body appeared, it immediately raised its head and let out a long roar. The entire dragon body swayed and dispersed the bloodline power of the gathering moth beasts. Su Tingzi and the others didn't dare to fly too high, but after hearing Ao Zhantian's words and witnessing the dragon blood spell body shatter the bloodline power, they didn't hesitate any longer and hurriedly rushed into the starry sky. Fellow Taoists, split up. There's no need to fly too high. Fellow Taoist Ao, this old man will lend you a hand. Seeing that Ao Zhantian had even unleashed his dragon blood body, Shui Mingzi also shouted with all his might. He rubbed his hands together, and strands of crystalline light as thin as hair fell into the void. Then, layers of dual-colored water light flashed in the air within a dozen kilometers. Not only did the water light wash away the blood mist, it also killed many of the gathering moth beasts. In fact, more than half of the several thousand feet long blood shadow was also killed by the water light. Many thanks, fellow Taoist Shui. Ao Zhantian expressed his gratitude, and the dragon blood body proudly pounced toward the blood shadow again. It opened its mouth, and the remaining blood shadow was actually riddled with holes by the dragon blood body. The gathering moth beasts could no longer hold on. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. The blood tentacles between them were forced apart, and the gathering moth beasts fell from the sky. Haha. Ao Zhantian laughed loudly. So it's just a paper tiger. You really gave me a fright just now. Shui Mingzi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He and Ao Zhantian were both 5th grade Origin Power Grandmasters, and Ao Zhantian had to unleash his dragon blood body in order to defeat low-grade demonic beasts like the gathering moth beasts. If word of this got out, people would laugh until their teeth fell out. However, what else could Shui Mingzi say? He hurriedly urged, fellow Taoist Ao, don't be careless. Although these gathering moth beasts are weak, they know the power of bloodlines. This is too dangerous for us human cultivators. It's better for us to retreat first. After we dodge this wave of small beasts, we'll deal with them. Caw caw. At this moment, a hoarse, owl-like voice came from the sky above Shui Mingzi's head. It was speaking the somewhat obscure language of the hidden Immortal continent. Humans, with just the few of you, you dare to have designs on my Yizhao Ridge? You must be tired of living. Ah? How could this be? Shui Mingzi was truly shocked. He had already released his divine sense, but who would have thought that there would still be a demonic beast that could avoid his divine sense and attack him? When he looked up and understood what was going on, he couldn't help but grumble inwardly. In the night sky, an eagle bat that was a few hundred feet in size spread its wings, blocking the starlight and the night sky nearby. Except for the lack of blood-red light around it, this eagle bat looked no different from the eagle bat formed by the gathering moth beast. Chapter 43-36. Fellow Taoists, hurry up and leave. Xue Mingzi's heart trembled when he saw such a huge flying eagle appear. Even though the flying eagle hadn't attacked yet, he immediately transmitted his voice without hesitation. However, Ao Zhantian and the other nascent soul cultivators didn't react to Xue Mingzi's words at all. However, Ao Zhantian and the other nascent soul cultivators all stopped in their tracks and circulated their magic power. Lights of different colors shone from their bodies, and they were clearly prepared to face the incoming attack. Hurry up and leave. At this point, Xue Mingzi could no longer maintain his calm. He couldn't even care less about his status as a 5th grade Origin Energy Great Grandmaster. Ao Zhantian's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard Xue Mingzi's warning. He replied coldly, "Fellow Taoist Xue, it's just a small star demon. Why are you making such a big fuss over nothing? Since we can no longer hide our tracks, why don't we give it a shot?" Xue Mingzi was a little embarrassed and angry. He understood Ao Zhantian's personality quite well. He had already made it clear when he snuck into the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm that he shouldn't flaunt his superiority and shouldn't take his status as a 5th grade Origin Energy Great Grandmaster too seriously. The Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm was a sacred realm for the demonic beasts. It was a realm of death for the human race. However, Ao Zhantian was still as arrogant as ever. He completely ignored Xue Mingzi's warning. Ao Zhantian didn't even put him in his eyes. Xue Mingzi's eyes flashed with a hint of ferocity. His gaze swept past Ao Zhantian and the group of nascent soul cultivators to look in the direction of the Gathering Moth's beasts. After the Gathering Moth's beasts were destroyed by Ao Zhantian's dragon blood dharma body, they couldn't regroup for the time being. This was an excellent place to escape. If Xue Mingzi was determined to escape, he should have a chance. However, when he looked at the chance of survival that was within his grasp, he clenched his teeth and suppressed his anger. He swallowed his pride and said, "Fellow Taoist Ao, it's not that I'm trying to suppress the demon clan's arrogance, nor is it that I'm trying to suppress the morale of the human clan. This is the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm, not the Western Paradise or the hidden Immortal continent. The humans of the demonic beasts are worse than dogs." What's the use of saying so much? Without waiting for Xue Mingzi to finish a sentence, Ao Zhantian opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of true qi. A dark golden scythe flew out of his mouth. As soon as the scythe landed in the air, a bone-chilling, cold light shone from it. Even the stars nearby were attracted to it. "Oh!" Xue Mingzi was shocked. His pupils shrank slightly, and an imperceptible smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He then cried out, "So that's how it is." Fellow Taoist Ao, it looks like you've gained quite a lot from your training on Dragon Island. You must have relied on this dragon artifact to reach the out-of-body realm, right? Hee. A smug smile appeared on Ao Zhantian's face as he replied, "I'm not as lucky as fellow Taoist Water to be able to reach the out-of-body stage as soon as I arrive in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. I only managed to get a sliver of a chance when I was on the Dragon Island. All right." Xue Mingzi didn't care about the arrogance in Ao Zhantian's voice. He waved his hand and took out his horsetail whisk. "Since that's the case, let's join forces and fight this demon from the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm." As he spoke, Xue Mingzi turned to Xian Ping, Su Tingzi, and the others. "You don't have to stay here for long. Hurry up and find a suitable direction to break out of this encirclement." As he spoke, the moth-gathering beasts had already gathered again. More blood mist began to condense. At the same time, thousands of eagles and bats swarmed over from all directions, trying to surround the human cultivators. Xian Ping and the other nascent soul cultivators felt the same way as Ao Zhantian. They were all extremely sullen. Now that they heard Xue Mingzi's instructions, they all activated their magic treasures and charged in different directions. Wherever the light went, not only was the night sky illuminated, even the stench of blood was washed away. The human cultivators moved, and the moth-gathering beasts also began to attack. At a low altitude, a blood mist that was several times larger than before began to boil. It chased after Su Tingzi and the others like a bloody sea. This blood mist was very strange. It appeared out of thin air and rose high into the sky. It chased after Su Tingzi and the others closely. Its speed wasn't any slower than the flying speed of these nascent soul cultivators. It was as if these nascent soul cultivators had a suction force that could surpass the distance between them. Hiss! Su Tingzi was the first to notice this strange phenomenon. He couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He hurriedly sensed the bloodline in his body. Sure enough, although the bloodline in his body wasn't gushing out, there was still a strange vibration that was faintly discernible. Following this vibration, the moth-gathering beast's blood mist also rapidly chased after them. Holy shit! Su Tingzi immediately understood. He almost groaned. I understand now. The moth-gathering beasts are moths that fly into the fire. This fire is the bloodline of the human race. Fire can kill moths, but if there are too many moths, the one that will be killed is the fire. Fellow Taoists, these moth-gathering beasts are too strange. We don't need to hold back. Su Tingzi looked around. The nascent soul cultivators closest to him seemed to have also noticed this. He quickly sent a voice transmission. Fortunately, they were already far away from the moth-gathering beasts. Su Tingzi's voice transmission could be heard by the other cultivators. Pahong also anxiously said, Fellow Taoist Su Tingzi, there's no need to say anymore. Let's use our spells and escape as far as possible. As he spoke, the blood mist had already arrived. Some moth-gathering beasts had hidden in the blood mist. These moth-gathering beasts were clearly much more powerful than the ones from before. They activated the blood mist and formed hundreds of strange tentacles that grabbed at Su Tingzi and the others. Damn it! When the tentacles appeared, the blood in Su Tingzi and the others' bodies immediately showed signs of boiling. Su Tingzi cursed angrily and raised his hand to slap. An earthy yellow pillar of light shot out from the top of his head and condensed into a nascent soul hand that slapped at the tentacles. Su Tingzi activated his spells. Xian Ping and the others didn't dare to be careless and used their nascent soul hands. Wherever the nascent soul hands landed, the space within 100 feet was sealed. The speed of the blood tentacles also decreased.
Boom. Boom.
Dozens of explosions rang out as the nascent soul's hand collided with the blood-colored tentacle. Strangely enough, even though the blood-colored tentacle was slowed down and a large part of it was crushed by the nascent soul's hand, the remaining blood mist still managed to break through the nascent soul's restraint and grabbed at Su Tingzi and the others. What surprised Su Tingzi the most was that the remaining blood tentacles were even more powerful. Su Tingzi could already feel his blood seeping out of his body. No wonder Senior Shui Mingzi repeatedly warned me. Su Tingzi felt a hint of regret. The Thousand Demons Sacred Realm is not a place where human cultivators can come. Pooh. Su Tingzi opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. The blood essence should have landed on the magic treasure, but due to the blood mist's attraction, a small portion of the blood essence floated in the air. Wang. After the small drumstick received the blood essence, it immediately emitted an intense earthy yellow light. The blood within the earthy yellow was also very eye-catching. Quick! Su Tingzi formed a hand seal and chanted a mantra. A 3-inch nascent soul wearing spirit armor appeared above his head. The moment the nascent soul appeared, it rubbed its small hands. A small drumstick flew out of its hands and turned into a bolt of lightning that landed on the small drumstick. Wang. The small drumstick let out a rumbling sound again and expanded to several feet in size, protecting Su Tingzi and his nascent soul. Kill. The nascent soul opened its mouth and let out a soft roar. A yellow crystal light landed on the drumstick, and the nascent soul waved its 2 small hands in the air. Woo! The drumstick that was several feet in size swept through the air and let out a deafening rumble. Under the drumstick, an area of several kilometers was swept clean by the earthy yellow light. Su Tingzi felt his body relax, as if the large hand that had attracted him had suddenly disappeared. Su Tingzi was overjoyed and turned into a rainbow as he charged toward the end of the light. Since Su Tingzi could use a divine ability to escape from the gathering moth beast's attack, Xian Ping and the other nascent soul cultivators could naturally do the same. Xian Ping's natal magic treasure was a three-colored fan. At this moment, the nascent soul fanned the magic treasure, and the three-colored light turned into three pillars of light that barely broke through the blood mist and carried Xian Ping's body away. Just like Su Tingzi, Xian Ping was in a good mood. His nascent soul couldn't help but sneak a glance in another direction. At this moment, Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian were already fighting with the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord in the distance. There were more than 100 eagle bats surrounding them, and the other eagle bats couldn't catch up to them in time. Su Tingzi and the other cultivators were fleeing in a different direction from Xian Ping. The blood mist below them had already thinned. Even if the blood mist condensed again, the gathering moth beast definitely wouldn't be able to catch up to them. If nothing unexpected happened, they would be out of danger. Damn it. Xian Ping's nascent soul withdrew his gaze. He circulated his true essence while thinking to himself, after escaping from here, I'll use this as an excuse to leave this place and quickly return to the hidden immortal continent. Although Shui Mingzi's plan is good, my life is more important. However, just as Xian Ping relaxed his mind, the blood mist below everyone's feet changed again. Woo-woo. The blood mist that had been broken through by the crowd suddenly boiled again. At the bottom of the blood mist, a dozen gathering moth beasts that were several times larger than the normal gathering moth beasts flew out of nowhere. These gathering moth beasts landed in the blood mist and opened their mouths to roar. The gathering moth beasts within a few kilometers also let out wails of anguish. Pung pung pung. Just as the wails of anguish faded, several hundred gathering moth beasts exploded, and a thick blood mist surged out again. Unlike before, when the blood mist appeared, the dozen or so gathering moth beasts immediately emitted a blood-red demonic aura. When this demonic aura entered the blood mist, the entire blood mist instantly transformed into a tentacle that was over 1,000 feet long. What made Xian Ping pale with fright was that the dozen or so gathering moth beasts didn't care about the other cultivators that were escaping. They only glanced coldly at him, and the tentacles streaked across the sky, chasing closely after him. Chapter 43:37. Damn it. Xian Ping didn't expect himself to be so unlucky. His nascent soul didn't have time to return to his body. He opened his mouth again and spat out a blood-colored light. The light from the three-colored magic treasures became even brighter, and his flying speed suddenly increased by 40%. Unfortunately, Xian Ping had only flown a few kilometers before the blood mist tentacle caught up with him. A powerful suction force fell on Xian Ping's body, preventing him from escaping. Kill. Xian Ping's nascent soul roared and waved his small hand. Shwa. A three-colored light beam turned into a large hand and grabbed at the blood tentacle. Woo. The large hand swept across the sky and collided with the blood tentacle. A slight wind whistled, and the nascent soul's hand missed. The blood tentacle was like nothing. Seeing that the nascent soul's hand was useless, Xian Ping's expression changed greatly, and he was about to use another ability. So, the blood tentacle that was still far away from Xian Ping suddenly turned into a shadow and instantly caught up to Xian Ping. Xian Ping's nascent soul suddenly felt that his body was incomparably heavy, and he almost couldn't fly with his body. What's going on? Xian Ping was shocked. His nascent soul's eyes flashed as he looked at his physical body. He saw that on the arm that had killed the gathering moth beast, a few drops of blood had already turned into the shape of worms and were rapidly moving towards his physical body. Those few drops of blood were as heavy as 1,000 pounds, causing the nascent soul to be unable to breathe. Damn it! Xian Ping couldn't remember how many times he had cursed. He knew in his heart that these gathering moth beasts were not chasing him for no reason. It must be because he had accidentally left a mark when he killed the gathering moth beast. Xian Ping's nascent soul's eyes flashed with anger. Looking at the blood tentacle approaching, a trace of helplessness appeared on his face. Xian Ping's nascent soul should be able to easily escape from the tentacle, but the prerequisite was that he had to abandon his body. But without a body, how could a nascent soul escape from the Thousand Devils' sacred realm? Xian Ping's nascent soul shouted without hesitation, "Shui Mingzi, come and save me." As for Shui Mingzi, he immediately activated his horsetail whisk and focused on dealing with the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Shui Mingzi was well aware that although the gathering moth beasts were troublesome to deal with, they weren't particularly powerful. If nothing unexpected happened, Su Tingzi and the others should be able to escape with ease. However, the gathering moth beasts that he and Ao Zhantian were facing were the most powerful opponents of the night. As expected, just as Shui Mingzi brought out his horsetail whisk, the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord's neck suddenly began to rumble like the beating of a drum. Following which, a fist-sized vortex appeared in the night sky within a radius of several kilometers. These vortexes were filled with pillars of starlight and moonlight, and they all rushed toward Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian like a torrential downpour. Not only that, the sound of the drums was actually a real order to attack. A group of eagles and bats flying in the night sky flapped their wings at the same time, and many coughing sounds were continuously produced. A series of chaotic ripples swept up violent winds. Within a radius of several kilometers, apart from the vortexes of various sizes, there was nothing but violent winds that drowned out all sound. What gave Shui Mingzi the most headache was that the violent winds were filled with ripples. These ripples were like thousands of small hammers striking his Naiwan palace. Although he had a secret technique to protect his Naiwan palace, he was unable to withstand such a concentrated attack. Waves of indescribable dizziness gradually appeared in his mind.
Die.
Shui Mingzi didn't dare to be negligent. The nascent soul true essence in his body was activated, and he brought out the horsetail whisk in his hand. Shwa. Tens of thousands of threads of light streaked through the air and landed in each of the vortexes. Boom, boom, boom. The threads of light accurately pierced into the center of the vortexes, and the entire vortexes instantly exploded. Streaks of black and white light flashed past, and a faint spatial crack appeared where the vortexes had been destroyed. Many of the violent winds stirred up by the eagles and bats were swallowed up by these spatial cracks. However, these spatial cracks disappeared in a flash, and didn't have much of an impact on the battle.
Hihi.
Ao Zhantian chuckled at this moment, and the magic treasure that had remained motionless all this time suddenly moved. The dark golden light flashed and split the space around it. Swish, swish, swish. Wherever the light landed, it turned into countless dark golden phantoms like a stream flowing through a stream. Wherever the shadows passed, all the ripples were sliced apart, and the violent winds that had been wreaking havoc a moment ago suddenly came to a halt. See? Shui Mingzi couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when he saw how powerful Ao Zhantian's magic treasure was. He thought to himself, as expected of the Dragon Island, there are countless rare treasures. Back then, Ao Zhantian was only a nascent soul cultivator of the 4th level of essence power. To think that he would be able to obtain such a powerful dragon weapon. This dragon weapon seems to be as powerful as my Dao Sect's spiritual magic treasure. The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord wasn't surprised when he saw the ripples being destroyed by Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi. Instead, he smiled faintly, and his wings suddenly began to flap again. A series of thunderous booms that were even more concentrated than the beating of the drums rang out once again, and layers of explosive ripples surged towards Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian. Shui Mingzi's expression changed when he saw the explosive ripples surging towards him. However, Ao Zhantian actually chuckled like the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. He rubbed his hands together and shouted, "Combine!" As Ao Zhantian's magic power spread out. The countless dark golden shadows suddenly disappeared, and a scythe magic treasure that was several zhang long strangely appeared near the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord's shadow. Then, it slashed towards the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord with lightning speed. GG. The Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord was shocked and instinctively cried out twice. His body flashed, and he wanted to turn into a shadow and escape from the magic treasure. However, Ao Zhantian's spiritual magic treasure was simply too powerful. Just as the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's body turned into a shadow, the scythe had already struck the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's wings. Pung! The Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's wings seemed to have exploded, and feathers of various colors scattered in all directions. Amidst the scattering of feathers, the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's body turned into a shattered star. In fact, the power of the scythe did not seem to be depleted at all. After it pierced through the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's body, it emitted a sharp light that was several hundred zhang long. This sharp light was even sharper than a flying sword. It streaked across the night sky and instantly killed several eagle bats that were unable to dodge in time. These eagle bats could only let out a miserable cry, and their feathers scattered as blood splattered everywhere. Haha. Ao Zhantian laughed loudly and shouted, "You're only SSO, fellow Taoist, quickly dodge." Seeing the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord turn into a shattered star and several eagle bats were killed, Shui Mingzi was not happy. Instead, he was shocked, and his expression was somewhat indescribable. He raised his hand and pointed at the horsetail whisk. Just as he was about to activate the magic treasure, for some unknown reason, the magic power in his hand did not activate. Instead, Shui Mingzi let out a cry of shock. When Ao Zhantian heard Shui Mingzi's warning, his heart trembled. Without any hesitation, he activated the magic power in his body, and his entire body teleported into the distance. However, it was a pity that just as his figure began to fade, 100 zhang in front of him, a gush of shattered fireflies gushed out like a fountain. As these shattered fireflies flowed, the moonlight pillar crashed down at the same time. The Eagle-Bat Mountain Master's perfect figure strangely appeared amidst the shattered fireflies. The moment the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's body appeared, his originally lifeless grayish-white eyes suddenly flashed with a resplendent glow. Two cold rays of light shot out from the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's eyes and landed on Ao Zhantian's illusory body. Pa 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 pa. The sound of glass shattering rang out, and the space around Ao Zhantian's body began to distort. Ao Zhantian's body was forcefully squeezed out of the void. Not only that, when the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord saw Ao Zhantian's body appear, he opened his mouth. Boom boom boom. Thunderous roars rang out from his mouth and nose, and thousands of fist-sized whirlpools instantly surrounded Ao Zhantian. Damn it! Ao Zhantian's embarrassment turned into anger. With a wave of his arms, a blood shadow appeared, and the dragon blood Dharma body charged out of his body. The blood-red dragon roared, and its huge dragon tail swept through the air. Woo woo woo. A total of 70% of the whirlpools were destroyed by Ao Zhantian before they could even display their might. Good. Shui Mingzi clapped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist Ao, you're quite impressive. Let this old man help you." As he spoke, Shui Mingzi raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. His nascent soul floated out from the top of his head. The nascent soul also held an inch-long silvery-white horsetail whisk in its hand. However, the tail of the horsetail whisk flickered and emitted a two-colored brilliance. Furthermore, this brilliance contained starlight. When the nascent soul waved the horsetail whisk, the starlight instantly shone brightly. Shwa. As Shui Mingzi's nascent soul waved the horsetail whisk, boundless heaven-earth yuan qi surged. Furthermore, the pillars of starlight around the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord also split apart and scattered on the horsetail whisk. Tens of millions of light strands instantly covered the space within 1,000 zhang. With a series of screeching sounds, a small portion of these light strands pierced through the void, while the majority of them emitted a cold aura as they pounced towards the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord. Seeing Shui Mingzi using his sacred art, the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord suddenly lifted its head and opened its sharp, protruding beastly mouth. Woo-woo. A scarlet-red pillar of light shot out from the mouth of the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord like a flood. This pillar of light wasn't aimed at Shui Mingzi or Ao Zhantian. As this pillar of light descended into the night sky, the starlight around the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord's body flickered slightly and floated out. Then, a small portion of the pillar of light shot towards the starlight. Wung wung. A strange sound rang out within 1,000 zhong of the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Amidst the sound, the space around the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord started to distort. Within the starlight, the light strands that Shui Mingzi had used previously were forced to appear. At this moment, the light strands were already distorted by the spatial pressure and were unable to pose much of a threat to the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Not only that, when the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord shot out a large portion of the pillar of light into the night sky, the entire night sky was also distorted. Even the thousands of eagle bats that were surrounding the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord were affected by the pillar of light. At the same time, they let out a series of cough-cough sounds. The space within a few dozen li was once again enveloped by the ripples as a series of formless waves rose up. Chapter 43-38. Damn it! At this moment, Ao Zhantian's Iwan Palace was shaking violently. Not only could he see it with his naked eyes, but he could also feel the world spinning around him. Ao Zhantian's dragon blood Dharma body trembled slightly, as if it couldn't maintain its balance. Ao Zhantian cursed angrily as his dragon blood Dharma body roared toward the sky. He wanted to borrow the power of the dragon blood Dharma body to break through the encirclement of the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord and his subordinates. Roar. A dragon's roar soared into the sky. Unfortunately, it only traveled 1,000 feet before it was shattered by countless coughs. Even Ao Zhantian's dragon blood Dharma body showed signs of collapsing. Not good. Ao Zhantian's heart jolted upon hearing this, and he seemed to have come to a sudden realization. The eagle bat is the nemesis of the gathering moth beasts, and the gathering moth beasts possess the power of bloodlines. Isn't my dragon blood Dharma body also manifested from my bloodline? How is it possible for me to destroy the energy waves of the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord? Could it be that the demon race also knows how to plan? Just as Ao Zhantian was puzzled, the entire night sky trembled again. Countless pillars of starlight descended and grabbed onto Ao Zhantian's dragon blood Dharma body like a giant palm. Ao Zhantian's expression froze, and he hurriedly tried to withdraw his dragon blood Dharma body back into his body. Unfortunately, how could he still control the situation at this point? A huge force pressed down on his head like a boulder, and he couldn't activate his dragon blood Dharma body no matter what. Fuck. Ao Zhantian didn't dare to be careless. He rubbed his hands together, and streaks of light as thin as hair fell into the sky. The space in front of him trembled as countless origin chi of heaven and earth broke through the pillars of starlight. Whoosh. As Ao Zhantian made a few hand seals, the scythe rushed into the sky and sliced through most of the pillars of starlight. The dragon blood Dharma body finally moved again, and it fell toward Ao Zhantian's body. Fellow Taoist Ao, let me help you. Seeing that Ao Zhantian was in trouble again, Shui Mingzi's body swayed, and he waved the horsetail whisk in his hand again. At this moment, Xian Ping's cry for help sounded strangely. Shui Mingzi, come save me. Ah. Shui Mingzi was shocked. He didn't care about Xian Ping's disrespect and naturally released his divine sense. Buzz, buzz. When his divine sense landed in the night sky, a feeling of dizziness immediately entered Shui Mingzi's mind. Shui Mingzi was shocked. He quickly withdrew his divine sense and looked up. Seeing that Xian Ping was in danger, Shui Mingzi was extremely shocked. He glanced at Ao Zhantian and the Eagle Bat Mountain Chieftain in disbelief, seemingly hesitating. Fellow Taoist water, hurry and save Xian Ping. Ao Zhantian naturally heard Xian Ping's cry for help. He hurriedly shouted, this old man still has some strength left, but Shui Mingzi seemed to have misgivings about something. However, it only lasted for a moment before his body flickered. A two-colored light flashed around him, and a faint demonic cloud appeared beneath his feet. Shui Mingzi teleported away, and in the space of a few breaths of time, he appeared 3,000 meters away from Xian Ping. Unfortunately, Shui Mingzi's figure had only just appeared. Before he could wave the horsetail whisk in his hand, the blood vessels on Xian Ping's body had already appeared like thick earthworms. With a loud bang, Xian Ping's body exploded. Damn it! Shui Mingzi was furious. He waved his horsetail whisk, and hundreds of strands of light shot towards the huge moth-gathering beasts. He shouted again, "Fellow Taoist Xian, don't panic. Hurry and come to this old man," who knew that it would have been better if Shui Mingzi hadn't said anything. As soon as Shui Mingzi spoke, a trace of resentment flashed across Xian Ping's nascent soul's eyes. The magic power around his body surged, and with a whoosh, he actually teleported into the distance. "Fellow Taoist Xian." Shui Mingzi was shocked. He hurriedly said, "This is the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. How can a nascent soul like you escape from being devoured by the demons?" As he spoke, Shui Mingzi was about to chase after Xian Ping. However, just as Shui Mingzi's figure moved, a wave of blood energy surged through his body. Not to mention teleporting, even flying was a bit troublesome. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Shui Mingzi was truly enraged. He opened his mouth, and a silvery white pillar of light fell into the strands of light he had shot out. With a boom, the strands of light flew up and instantly killed a huge moth-gathering beast. Shui Mingzi's magic treasure did indeed kill a moth-gathering beast. However, the crimson tentacle wasn't something that Shui Mingzi's magic treasure could defend against. The crimson tentacle changed direction and came crashing down on Shui Mingzi. At this moment, due to Shui Mingzi's departure, Ao Zhantian was facing off against the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord alone. He had just retracted most of his dragon blood avatar into his body when the light around him began to distort and ripple. The remaining avatar was already beginning to crumble, roar. At this critical moment, a loud dragon's roar soared into the sky from afar, following which, a powerful vital intent appeared out of thin air. This vital intent was very strange. It was like a river, but also like a boulder. As it descended, it caused the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord to tremble violently. Even though it didn't break through, it still caused the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord to hurriedly turn around. Which damned bastard dares to bully a descendant of the dragon tribe? A loud voice sounded from behind the vital intent. It was the language of the Thousand Beast Holy Realm. Good. Ao Zhantian was truly overjoyed. Even though he hadn't seen the newcomer yet, just from the power of the vital intent and the dragon's roar alone, he already knew that the newcomer was definitely a powerful ally. Sure enough, just as the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord spread its wings and soared into the sky, a demonic body that resembled a dragon and a snake descended from the night sky. The snake's tail, which was several dozen feet thick, whistled through the air as it came crashing down like a small mountain. Where the serpent tail landed, the Eagle Bat Mountain Master similarly flapped his wings to receive the attack. Boom! With a loud explosion, the serpent tail was flipped over, and an ugly serpent dragon tumbled in midair, revealing its demonic body. The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord also tumbled through the night sky. Even though it spread its wings, it was still unable to maintain its balance. So, it's a python dragon. Ao Zhantian was filled with anticipation for the appearance of a member of the dragon tribe. When he saw that it was a python dragon, he couldn't help but feel disappointed. However, when he saw that the python dragon's demonic body was so sturdy, there was hope amidst his disappointment. He didn't dare to be careless. While the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord was entangled by the python dragon, he hurriedly retracted his dragon blood dharma body. With a sway of his body, the scythe in his hand slashed out once again. Its target was the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Pung, pung, pung. The magic treasure streaked across the sky, and a series of explosive sounds could be heard. At this moment, the space was still enveloped by the fluctuations of the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. The scythe didn't leave behind a beautiful arc, but traces left behind by the shockwaves. With so many shockwaves blocking the scythe, when the magic treasure landed on the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord's head, it was no longer as sharp as before. The Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord sneered coldly. With a flap of its wings, the scythe was sent flying diagonally. It didn't pose any threat to the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord at all. Fellow Immortal. At this moment, the python dragon was already twisting its body. Seeing that Ao Zhantian's magic treasure was useless, it shouted, "You go and kill those small fries. Leave this bastard to me." All right. Ao Zhantian naturally understood the Thousand Beast Sacred Realm's words. With a nod of his head, he moved with all his might. With a flick of his hand, he pounced towards the nearest Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord. Ho! The python dragon watched Ao Zhantian leave, and a trace of a smile appeared in its eyes. With a loud roar, it opened its mouth and shot out a huge pillar of starlight towards the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord. Boom, boom, boom. Wherever the pillar of light passed, the shockwaves in the surrounding space were all destroyed. At the same time, the python dragon's tail slammed down again, and a mountain-like force enveloped the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord. Dong, dong, dong. The Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord was greatly alarmed. His mouth and nose emitted a drumming sound, and waves of shockwaves broke through the air in an attempt to block the pillar of light. At the same time, his body also reflected the brilliance of the starlight as he flapped his wings to meet the python dragon's tail. Boom! With a loud bang, the python dragon's tail smashed into the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord's back. Facing the python dragon's sturdy demonic body, the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord was unable to resist at all. His 100-zhang-tall demonic body floated down like an autumn leaf, and his feathers were sent flying in all directions. Ha ha! The python dragon laughed loudly. "You're just a bat. How dare you be so arrogant in front of my dragon tribe?" Just as the python dragon was laughing maniacally, the Eagle-Bat Mountain Master, who seemed to have no strength to resist, suddenly spread his wings. His entire body transformed into a strange black shadow, and with lightning speed, he fled towards the dark night at a low altitude. "Damn it! You still want to escape in front of me?" The python dragon was unwilling to let it go. After a moment of shock, demonic clouds flashed around its body, and it chased after the black shadow. It was also at this moment that Shui Mingzi's voice rang out from afar. "Fellow Immortal, fellow Immortal." Oh. The python dragon's body turned sluggish, and when it turned its head to look, it saw Shui Mingzi's body flashing with two different colors of light. Layers of blood-red light rippled outwards. The horsetail whisk in Shui Mingzi's hand was able to block the numerous gathering moth beasts, but it was unable to block the power of the bloodline within the blood-red mist. What was special was that at a low altitude, there were thousands of gathering moth beasts whose eyes were flashing with red light, gathering over without fear of death. "Fellow Immortal, do you have any ideas?" Shui Mingzi shouted loudly. "If Fellow Immortal is able to lend us a hand, I will definitely reward you greatly." "What does it have to do with me?" The python dragon's words almost caused Shui Mingzi to roll his eyes in anger. "You're not even a descendant of the dragon tribe." After the python dragon finished speaking, it turned its head again to look in the direction that the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord had fled. In just a few breaths, the Eagle-Bat Mountain Lord had already disappeared without a trace. The python dragon's body flew for 1,000 feet, but it seemed to have some misgivings and stopped chasing. Instead, it looked in Ao Zhantian's direction and called out cheerfully, "Fellow Immortal, don't worry, I'll help you." Damn it! Isn't it just a python dragon? Do you have to think so highly of yourself? You're ignoring me, but I'm going to pay you back. Seeing how the python dragon was so biased, as if it didn't care about his life at all, Shui Mingzi's nose became crooked from anger. He gritted his teeth and opened his mouth, sending a surge of true yuan into his magic treasure. Thousands of starlight appeared once again, but this time, the starlight didn't attack the gathering moth beasts. Instead, it landed on Shui Mingzi's body. Following which, Shui Mingzi's body flickered, and his body gradually blurred as he charged into the blood-red mist, flying in the direction of the python dragon. Chapter 4339. Ao Zhantian's scythe was a powerful magic treasure to begin with, and he had the upper hand against the normal eagle bats. While the python dragon and the eagle bat were clashing, Ao Zhantian had already killed several eagle bats. When he saw the python dragon flying toward him, he was even more elated. "Thank you, fellow immortal. You're welcome, you're welcome." Even though the python dragon said that, it was clearly enjoying the compliment. Before it could even get close, its massive python tail smashed toward another eagle bat.
Boom.
There was no suspense. The eagle bat was struck by the python tail and fell straight into the forest. Giant trees were toppled, and rocks were pulverized. Even the eagle bat was severely wounded. Ha ha ha! The python dragon roared with laughter again. A bunch of little bats dares to taunt the dragon tribe. Among them, the words Dragon Clan was enunciated very clearly. Boom, boom, boom. The python dragon swept its tail horizontally again, instantly sending several eagle bats flying. Ao Zhantian's heart was deeply hurt as he watched the python dragon defeat the eagle bats with ease, without using any special abilities. He thought to himself bitterly, fuck, even a powerful dragon can't defeat a snake in its own territory. I'm also a 5th grade essence force cultivator, and this python dragon's strength is similar to I's. However, in this 1,000 beast sacred realm, these little bats can only bully I. They can't do anything to the python's body. Chirp chirp. Just as Ao Zhantian was feeling jealous, a strange screeching sound came from the distant night sky. Cough cough. All of the eagle bats coughed at the same time upon hearing this screeching sound. The entire night sky was once again disrupted by the fluctuations. Ao Zhantian felt another wave of dizziness coming toward him. He hurriedly put away his magic treasure and prepared to defend himself with his magic power. What are you doing? Trying to escape? What made Ao Zhantian even more depressed was that the python dragon didn't seem to fear the fluctuations of the eagle bats at all. It waved its tail again, and several eagle bats that were trying to escape fell into the forest. Comparisons are odious. Ao Zhantian sighed in exasperation. Oh, right, this guy isn't human, he's a demon. Why should I compete with him? Fellow Taoist Ao, hurry up and help me. Ao Zhantian sighed. Shui Mingzi was already flying closer, and he called out loudly. Of course, Ao Zhantian was also completely helpless against the power of the gathering moth beast's bloodline. When he heard Shui Mingzi's request for help, he naturally knew that Shui Mingzi was asking for help from that mysterious python dragon. Furthermore, he had clearly seen the python dragon's disdain for Shui Mingzi. Even though Ao Zhantian didn't know why this python dragon was so close to him, a descendant of the dragon tribe, he knew that as long as he asked, this python dragon would definitely help him. However, Ao Zhantian paused momentarily before speaking. Fellow Taoist Water, seeing as all of our fellow Taoists have already escaped from danger, why should we continue to fight these gathering moth beasts? Let's meet up with Su Tingzi and the others first. Then, we'll search for Xian Ping's nascent soul. Before Shui Mingzi had a chance to reply, the python dragon turned around and extended its massive head over. It spoke in a flattering tone. Fellow Taoist Water, there's no need to rush. Isn't it just a few small things? Let me help you. Fellow Taoist Water. Ao Zhantian was truly flattered by the python dragon's enthusiasm. He hurriedly wanted to say something, but the python dragon didn't give him a chance to do so. The python dragon raised its head slightly, and the pillar of starlight around its body shone brightly. Then, the python dragon charged toward the gathering moth beasts and the blood mist in its wake. Roar, roar, roar. It roared 3 times in quick succession. Following the roar, a violent gale swept up, and the night sky within a radius of several dozen kilometers darkened. Not only was the blood mist completely swept away by the gale, but even the gathering moth beasts were swept up into the air. Countless huge trees were uprooted at low altitudes, and the howling of the gathering moth beasts reverberated throughout the forest. Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi were dumbstruck. The two of them looked on with incredulity. The gathering moth beasts that 2 out of Aperture Grandmasters and a dozen or so nascent Soul Grandmasters couldn't handle were chased away by the Python Dragon's 3 roars. Furthermore, the 2 human cultivators could clearly see that the Python Dragon was only at the 5th grade Origin Chi realm. What it relied on was merely its innate divine ability. That was all. Cough cough. Ao Zhantian's mouth gaped open. Just as he was in shock, he suddenly caught a whiff of an indescribable stench. He hurriedly coughed a few times and held his breath. Only then did he discover that the stench was coming from the Python Dragon's mouth. Ao Zhantian hurriedly coughed a few more times to cover it up. Then he smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist water, let's leave this place first." Once we find a safe place, the Python Dragon didn't wait for Ao Zhantian to finish his sentence. "With me here, what's there to worry about?" Hee, that's true. Ao Zhantian was a little embarrassed. He raised his head and looked at Shui Mingzi. Shui Mingzi also nodded with interest. Oh. Just as Ao Zhantian was about to speak again, the Python Dragon suddenly let out a cry of surprise. Demonic clouds surged around its body, and the pillars of light from the moon and stars fell again. The Python Dragon's body rapidly shrank. In just a short moment, a demonic beast about the size of an ordinary human appeared in front of Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi. The Python Dragon greeted Ao Zhantian and spoke in the human language of the hidden Immortal continent. "My name is Ao E. How should I address you, fellow Taoist water?" "Oh, so it's fellow Taoist Ao." Ao Zhantian hurriedly replied respectfully, "I am Ao Zhantian." It really is fellow Taoist Ao. A smile appeared on the face of the Python Dragon called Ao E. "I knew that the weather would be good tonight. Coming out for a walk, I was sure to meet a benefactor. I wonder which Dragon Palace fellow Taoist Ao is the descendant of?" Seeing that Ao E was very unscrupulous and completely ignored him, Shui Mingzi felt helpless. Hearing Ao Yi's question, his heart couldn't help but tremble. Ao Zhantian was a little embarrassed. Seeing the smile on Ao Yi's face, he didn't dare to hide anything. "I am a human cultivator from the hidden Immortal continent. Although I have the bloodline of the Dragon tribe, but I have nothing to do with the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas." "What? You have nothing to do with the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas?" Ao E seemed to deflate. The smile on his face immediately disappeared. He looked Ao Zhantian up and down and said coldly, "Aren't you a descendant of the Dragon tribe? How can you have nothing to do with the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas?" Ao Zhantian clearly didn't expect Ao Yi's expression to change so quickly. He was stunned for a moment, then he smiled and said, "I am a human, not a member of the Sea tribe. How can I have anything to do with the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas? If you say no more." Ao E waved his hand and said impatiently, "If you have nothing to do with the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas, then why did you show your dragon form? Fuck, this is so troublesome. You made me work for nothing. I was happy for nothing. Fellow Immortal Ao." Shui Mingzi, who was at the side, smiled faintly and asked, "Doesn't your name have the surname Ao? Could it be that you are not a descendant of the Dragon tribe of the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas?" Ao Yi's face revealed a trace of anger and embarrassment. He glared at Shui Mingzi with his large eyes. The python tail hidden behind his armor waved, and a demonic cloud appeared in the air. It looked like it was about to fly away. Shui Mingzi's lips curled into a mocking smile. He already knew that this python dragon's true form was a python. He belonged to the Thousand Beasts sacred realm, and his bloodline was relatively low. He thought highly of himself. Not only did he give himself the surname Ao, which only the dragon tribe could use, he also saw himself as a member of the dragon tribe. However, he was not a member of the dragon tribe, which was why he wanted to curry favor with the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas. When he saw Ao Zhantian reveal his dragon blood Dharma body, he thought that Ao Zhantian had something to do with the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas. Thus, he came to save him. Now that he saw that Ao Zhantian had nothing to do with the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, he immediately turned his back on him and prepared to leave. Shui Mingzi ignored Ao Yi and allowed him to leave. However, Ao Zhantian panicked and hurriedly called out, "Fellow Immortal Ao, don't be in such a hurry. What? You are not a descendant of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Why are you holding me back?" Ao Yi asked with a cold smile. A faint smile appeared on Ao Zhantian's face as he pulled out his scythe magic treasure. "Take a look at this, fellow immortal." "Why would I look at this?" Ao Yi did not even look at the magic treasure. He waved his hand and said, "Don't block my way. I still want to go to the North Sea to take a look. Hee, fellow immortal." Ao Zhantian did not dare to beat around the bush. "Although I have nothing to do with the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, I have been to the Dragon Island. This magic treasure is a dragon weapon I obtained on the Dragon Island."
Ah!
Dragon Island? Ao Yi's body trembled when he heard this. However, the smile on his face immediately returned. He hurriedly flew to Ao Zhantian's side and asked, "Fellow immortal Ao, why didn't you say so earlier? So, you are a descendant of the Dragon Island." Fuck. Shui Mingzi almost fainted when he heard Ao Yi's words. He could not help but curse inwardly. This python must have gone crazy from wanting to have a pure bloodline. As soon as he heard that the Dragon Palace and the Dragon Island were related to bloodline, he was just a python. Even if he cultivated for 10 more lifetimes, he would still be a python. He has nothing to do with the true dragon tribe. Cough, cough. Ao Zhantian coughed a few times and smiled. "I am not." As soon as Ao Zhantian said no, Ao Yi's expression changed. Ao Zhantian's eyes darted around, and he quickly changed the subject. "Although I'm not a direct descendant of the Dragon Island, my dragon bloodline is extremely pure. That's why I had the opportunity to train on the Dragon Island. Fellow immortal, please take a look. This is the dragon weapon I obtained on the Dragon Island." Ao Yi's expression immediately became respectful when he heard this. He reached out with both hands and took the scythe. He looked at it again and again. Although he could not see any dragon chi, he still looked a little reluctant to part with it. "Io, not good. Fuck, if you don't return this python to me, what am I going to do?" Ao Zhantian suddenly panicked. He reached out for the magic treasure again and said, "This dragon weapon is only suitable for humans. After I refined it, the dragon chi is even more restrained. I'm afraid fellow immortal won't be able to see anything." Chapter 4340. This. Ao Yi was clearly reluctant to return the scythe, but after hearing Ao Zhantian say that it could only be used by humans and that it had already been refined, he reluctantly let go. Ao Zhantian hurriedly put away the magic treasure and heaved a sigh of relief. Ao Yi then probed, "Fellow immortal Ao, when will the Dragon Island trial begin? What kind of bloodline do I need? Do I have a chance? Can you introduce me to the Dragon Island's Dragon King?" Country bumpkin. Shui Mingzi cursed in his heart upon hearing Ao Yi refer to the Dragon Island's dragon tribe as Dragon King. Ao Zhantian chuckled. "Fellow immortal Ao, entering the Dragon Island requires an opportunity. Even I won't have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Island in the future. You won't have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Island? Then what are you talking about?" Ao Yi was immediately enraged. Ao Yi's reaction was completely within Ao Zhantian's expectations. He replied in an unhurried manner, "Don't worry, fellow immortal. I won't have a chance to enter the Dragon Island, but I can introduce you to the Dragon Tribe." Shui Mingzi's brows furrowed slightly upon hearing this. "Fellow Taoist Ao, what do you mean by this? Could it be that you want to befriend this demon tribe?" "Please wait a moment, fellow immortal Ao." Ao Zhantian smiled at Ao Yi before turning to Shui Mingzi. "Fellow Taoist Shui, don't you think it's quite dangerous for us to travel through the 1,000-demon sacred realm with only a dozen or so human cultivators? Tonight, we only encountered moth-gathering beasts and eagle bats, and we were almost annihilated. Although we're all safe now, fellow Taoist Xian Ping's physical body has been destroyed, and his nascent soul is missing. Su Tingzi and the other fellow Taoists have fled in panic. We've traveled more than several million kilometers from Baiqingyu, right? Who knows what kind of demon tribe we'll encounter during this time. Although this python dragon looks annoying, it's still a demon tribe member of the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. With him leading the way, wouldn't it save us a lot of effort? But Shui Mingzi suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart and retorted, how can we let a demon tribe member know what we're doing? If this python dragon knows the demon tribe member of the demon tribe of Baiqingyu, wouldn't you be creating trouble for yourself? Not only will our whereabouts be exposed, it will also be a bloody calamity. Moreover, do you think you'll be able to do it? I've heard from fellow cultivator that you'll never be able to set foot on Dragon Island again. Ao Zhantian seemed to have a card up his sleeve as he replied calmly, of course we can't let this python know what we're about to do. However, since we are going to Baiqingyu to participate in the banquet, why is there a need to hide this from others? Baiqingyu's Demon King possesses remarkable abilities. It's perfectly normal for us Taoist cultivators to seek his protection. Iman Demon Iman Immortal BBB IMS of AA of IMS Iman Demon Dragon Tribe Members Dragon B Immortals Immortal IMS of the Immortal of Iman Dragon Immortal AO Iming Iman's Iman. This flood dragon's abilities are limited, but he's born with a python's body. His skin is thick, and his flesh is hard to deal with. Ao Zhantian gave Shui Mingzi a sideways glance, then said with a meaningful smile on his face, fellow Taoist Shui, do you think it is impossible for me to introduce this boa dragon to the dragons of Dragon Island? Oh. Shui Mingzi was surprised. If you can't return to Dragon Island, then the dragon tribe won't leave Dragon Island without a special reason. At this point, Shui Mingzi was stunned as if he was struck by lightning. He looked at Shui Mingzi in disbelief and asked in surprise, fellow Taoist, are you saying that the dragon clan from Dragon Island will come to the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm? Shui Mingzi was so shocked that he forgot to send a voice transmission. When Aoe heard this, his eyes lit up and he almost pulled on Ao Zhantian's robe. He hurriedly said, Immortal friend Ao, when will the dragon tribe from the Dragon Island come to the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm? Where are they? Hurry up and introduce them to me. Ao Zhantian looked at Shui Mingzi with a wry smile and said to Aoe, don't worry, Immortal Ao. I'll discuss this with Immortal Aoe. Although I can't be sure if the dragon tribe will come to the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm, this is still an opportunity. It's better than going to the North Sea alone and searching for the Dragon Palace, right? Hurry up and discuss this. Aoe rubbed his hands together excitedly. Shui Mingzi looked at Aoe's expression with a bitter taste in his mouth. He knew that he couldn't stop this flood dragon from following him. If he had any objections, this flood dragon would definitely fight him. Shui Mingzi had no choice but to transmit his voice to Ao Zhantian. Fellow Taoist Ao, I don't think the Dragon Island will be interested in the 1,000 Beast Holy Realms Qing Banquet. Even though Baiqingyu has invited the 1,000 Beast Holy Realms Qing Banquet, I don't think the Dragon Island will be interested in it. So, if you don't mind me asking, which dragon tribe member do you think will come to Baiqingyu? Ao Zhantian looked in the direction of the North Sea and smiled mysteriously. The Dragon Island naturally won't be interested in the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. However, if they find out that Xiaohua has been suppressed by Baiqingyu, even if all the Dragon Tribe members don't come, their junior elder, Ao Sheng, will still come. Junior elder? Ao Sheng? Shui Mingzi was dumbstruck. Which Dragon Tribe member is he? Ao Zhantian looked at Shui Mingzi and replied, this is a secret of the Dragon Island. So forgive me for not being able to explain it to you. To tell you the truth, it's precisely because I have this bit of confidence that I dare to come to the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm with all of you. Great. Shui Mingzi was ecstatic. Why didn't you tell us earlier that you have such a strong backing? Although we came here with the intention of dying to save Dao Xiao, wouldn't we be able to raise our morale if we had such a strong backing? Ao Zhantian replied, I wasn't sure either. If I had told you earlier, it might have ruined the Dragon Island's plans. You're right. Shui Mingzi nodded vigorously. This is an important matter. We definitely can't let Bai Qingyu know about it. Shui Mingzi looked at the excited Aoe with a remorseful expression. He wondered if this python dragon would ruin their plans. Ao Zhantian, on the other hand, asked Aoe with a smile, "Fellow Immortal Ao, do you know the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realms by Qingyu?" By Qingyu? Aoe was taken aback. Is that the Dragon Island's base in the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm? Ao Zhantian was speechless. It seemed like Aoe's every sentence had something to do with the dragon tribe to flaunt his bloodline.
No.
Ao Zhantian explained, Bai Qingyu is the territory of a demon monarch in the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. Demon monarch? Aoe's expression froze. He didn't ask any questions, as if he was thinking about something. An extremely powerful demon monarch. Ao Zhantian said, this demon monarch is going to hold a banquet soon. We're heading to Bai Qingyu to seek the protection of this demon monarch. I know that a member of the dragon tribe from the Dragon Island will also be attending this banquet. Before Ao Zhantian could finish, Aoe was already beaming with joy. A powerful demon monarch. Good. I didn't think that I would hit the jackpot today. Not only will I be able to befriend a member of the dragon tribe from the Dragon Island, but I'll also be able to befriend a powerful demon monarch. My efforts today weren't in vain. Fellow Immortal Ao, where is Bai Qingyu? Let's go, bring me there. Ao Zhantian smiled at Shui Mingzi when he saw that this unscrupulous python dragon had already taken the bait. He then said to Aoe, Fellow Immortal Aoe, there's no need to be in such a hurry. I still have a few other fellow Taoists who were separated by the gathering moth beasts. I still have to find them first. How can I not be in a hurry? Aoe urged. I've been searching for so long, and finally, Aoe immediately shut his mouth. He coughed twice and pretended to be an expert. He nodded and said, You humans are really weak. Aren't you just a few gathering moth beasts? Just because they separated you? Lead the way, and I'll stand guard for you. You can flatten the entire 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm. Yes, fellow Immortal, please. Ao Zhantian nodded and winked at Shui Mingzi. Shui Mingzi's lips curled into an indescribable expression as he flew off in a certain direction. Ao Zhantian waved his hand and flew off carefully, leaving Aoe behind. Aoe was the only one left. He slowly moved his body and followed behind the two human cultivators. The first rays of dawn had already appeared on the horizon. A cool breeze blew on Aoe's face. The ugly face of the anaconda dragon clearly carried a human smile. This Aoe was Xiaohua, the one who shouted that the illusory pearl had transformed into a python dragon. He didn't attract the attention of Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi at all, and he blended into the group that was going to save Xiaohua. Ao Zhantian naturally didn't know if Ao Sheng would come. However, before he left the Dragon Island, he clearly saw that the relationship between Ao Sheng and Xiaohua was definitely not ordinary. Since he was willing to go all the way to the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm in order to save Xiaohua, how could Ao Sheng, a minor elder of the Dragon Island, not come when he heard the news? Ao Zhantian's prediction was naturally correct. Far to the west of the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm, near the shore of the West Sea. Boom! A huge wave soared into the sky, and a loud dragon's roar shook the surroundings. The originally calm sea instantly became turbulent, and a dragon's body that was several thousand feet long flew out from the bottom of the sea. The moment the dragon rushed out of the sea, it immediately flew into the sky like a flying dragon. Under the dragon's roar, the originally clear sky immediately became turbulent, and waves of dark clouds surged in from all directions. Regardless of whether it was the dark sky or the snow-like waves on the sea, all of it revealed the fiery fury of the dragon. Damn it! The huge dragon rushed into the sky and frantically circled the clouds several times. It opened its mouth and shouted 3 times toward the sky. In the end, it yelled again, Bai Qingyu, you dare to suppress the dragon master of the dragon tribe? If I don't smash you, by Qingyu, into pieces, then I'm not a minor elder of the Dragon Island. As the cloud shattered, the appearance of the dragon was revealed. It was the furious Ao Sheng. Chapter 43-41. Junior Elder, Junior Elder. Ao Sheng roared angrily. Just as he was about to fly in the direction of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, another dozen dragon generals flew out from under the sea. The first dragon general shouted, "Senior Elder, don't be in such a hurry. Bai Qingyu is merely a demon realm in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. The demon king there is not even famous. How could he have the guts to suppress our dragon clan's dragon master? What you've heard is nothing more than some rumors. Second Elder has already sent out dragon generals to Bai Qingyu to gather information. If Xiao Hua, dragon teacher Xiao, is really suppressed in Bai Qingyu, there's no need for you to head there personally. My Dragon Island would have long dispatched troops to eliminate Bai Qingyu." Scram. Ao Sheng was even more furious. "Don't follow behind me. Don't think that I don't know. You have already known about Bai Qingyu and the rumor that Xiao Longsher might be suppressed in Bai Qingyu. Then, why didn't you tell me earlier? If it wasn't for me, how could I have eavesdropped on this matter? How long do you want to hide it from me?" Junior Elders. Although the dragon general felt wronged, he didn't dare to talk back to Ao Sheng. Instead, he smiled and said, "If you are angry, you can vent your anger on me. This matter is far from as simple as Junior Elder thinks. Although our Dragon Island didn't announce Xiao Longsher's matter to the world, the great holy palace in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm still knows about it. That demon in Bai Qingyu must have received the news as well. Since they know that Xiao Hua is our dragon clan's dragon master, they still dare to risk universal condemnation to suppress him. They must have something to rely on. It's not difficult for our Dragon Island to kill Bai Qingyu, but it's difficult to find the person behind them. Moreover, Bai Qingyu is in the depths of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Even if our Dragon Island dispatches troops, it will easily arouse the disgust of the great holy palace. It might even lead to a war. Oh, and the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Therefore, the opinions of the various elders are not unanimous. It's hard for us to issue the Dragon Island command." Ao Sheng roared in midair. "Is there any use in saying this now? You just need to tell me, is Xiao Longsher suppressed in Bai Qingyu? Do you have any plans to save him?" The dragon general hesitated for a moment before shaking his head and saying, "This subordinate cannot be sure if dragon teacher Xiao is being suppressed in Bai Qingyu. Furthermore, without the order of the Dragon Hall's elder, I cannot go." Scram, scram, scram. Ao Sheng became even more furious and shouted, "Since you can't go, then don't talk nonsense here. In any case, Laozi has already decided. If you guys don't go, Laozi will go. Laozi only has Xiao Hua as a good friend in this world. If Laozi doesn't save him, who will? Hee. That Long Jiang still smiles and says, "We naturally won't go and save Dragon Master Xiao. However, we need to protect Junior Clan Elder. If Junior Clan Elder goes to Bai Qingyu, we will have to accompany her." Holy shit! Ao Sheng was stunned for a moment, and then he said happily, "So this is your plan. Tell me, is this the Great Elder's idea?" Long Jiang had an innocent look on his face as he shook his head and said, "This subordinate never said that this was the Great Elder's idea." Ha ha ha. Ao Sheng laughed loudly and swung his dragon tail, saying, "If that's the case, why aren't you guys following Laozi to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm?" Don't rush. That Long Jiang narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction of the West Ocean and replied, "The dragon who leaked the news of Bai Qingyu to Junior Clan Elder hasn't appeared yet. How can we go to Bai Qingyu alone? It can't be." Ao Sheng stopped smiling and said with a bitter face, "Does the Great Elder know about this as well?" This subordinate must correct Junior Clan Elder's words. Long Jiang said seriously, "The Great Elder doesn't know about this at all. Even the elders of the Dragon Hall don't know about this at all. Junior Clan Elder made the decision on her own. In order to protect Junior Clan Elder, this subordinate has no choice but to go to Bai Qingyu. As for Junior Clan Elder being with Ao Zhan, that's purely an accident. Roar. Just as Long Jiang finished speaking, a pitch-black dragon body rushed out of the blue water in the West Ocean. An unusually ferocious aura was emitted from the dragon horn on the dragon body. Ao Sheng looked up and saw Ao Zhan in his pitch-black dragon armor. There weren't any other dragons behind Ao Zhan. However, as soon as Ao Zhan appeared, the dozen or so Long Jiang beside Ao Sheng immediately became alert. They silently spread out and protected Ao Sheng in the center. Oh? Why are there only a few Long Jiang? Ao Zhan didn't release his Yuan Shin because he wanted to hide his tracks. When he saw the dozen or so Long Jiang beside Ao Sheng, he couldn't help but be surprised. He shouted, "Damn it, just the few of you are not even enough to fill the gaps between Bai Qingyu's teeth." After saying that, Ao Zhan stopped in midair and looked at Ao Sheng thoughtfully. He then said, "Ao Sheng, did you not tell the Great Elder about the information I gave you?" Impudent. Without waiting for Ao Sheng to speak, the leading Long Jiang berated, "This is our Dragon Island's Junior Clan Elder, Ao Zhan. How can you call him by his name? Go away." Ao Sheng's face was full of disdain. He waved his dragon claw and pulled the Long Jiang aside. He said, "Ao Zhan and I have experienced life and death in the stacked Jade Legacy realm. There's no need to use the Dragon Island's rules to restrain him. Besides, in the future he..." Cough cough. Seeing that Ao Sheng was about to reveal some secret, Ao Zhan hurriedly coughed and stopped Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng chuckled and replied, "Do I need you to say it? Of course I know what you mean. After I got the information, I quickly went to find the Great Elder. However, ever since he left the folded Jadeite Legacy realm, he has been meditating. Not to mention me, even the other elders don't see him often. The majority of the Dragon Island's affairs are all controlled by the Second Elder." Oh, the Second Elder. Ao Zhan's eyes narrowed as a strange expression appeared on his face. "Although I didn't see the Great Elder, I also reported the matter to the Great Elder's follower." Ao Sheng explained again, but after the follower returned, he didn't say anything. I could only go to the Fourth Elder. The Fourth Elder berated me and told me not to meddle in the matters that didn't exist. He then chased me out. At this point, Ao Sheng looked at the Long Jiang on the left and smiled. However, when I secretly sneaked out of the Dragon Island, I actually found a Long Jiang. When these Long Jiang were chasing me, I also brought them out of the Dragon Island. Sigh. Actually, there was no need for Ao Sheng to say anything more. Ao Zhan had already heard the strangeness of the matter. He sighed and looked at Ao Sheng meaningfully. "Ao Sheng, actually, I am already regretting telling you about Bai Qingyu's matter." "Why?" Ao Sheng looked at Ao Zhan in shock and confusion. "Because..." Ao Zhan said word by word, "I didn't expect that Ao Sheng, a small elder of the Dragon Island, would be willing to go through a mountain of swords and a sea of flames for the sake of a close friend." Damn it. Ao Sheng's eyes were a little wet as he laughed. "Isn't it just a mountain of swords? Isn't it just a sea of flames? I don't even care about them." But a hint of warmth appeared in Ao Zhan's eyes as he solemnly advised, "Ao Sheng, you're a minor elder of Dragon Island. You're different from the other dragons, and you're also different from me. Let's not talk about where you are or what others say. You represent the Dragon Island. Your words and actions cannot be crossed in any way." Bullshit, bullshit. Ao Sheng was getting impatient. He waved his tail in the air and shouted, "I am Ao Sheng. I have nothing to do with the Dragon Island." "That's right. You're Ao Sheng." Ao Zhan nodded solemnly. "That's exactly what the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is thinking. Ao Sheng's death is completely different from the death of a minor elder." "Who dares?" Ao Sheng was about to roar again, but before he could finish, Ao Zhan roared and the dragon chi around him surged. Thick dragon marks appeared on the black dragon armor. Once the dragon marks appeared, Not only did the seawater below Ao Zhan soar into the sky, countless water-based chi of heaven and earth turned into crystals and fell into the dragon marks. Even the other chi of heaven and earth within a few miles turned into a gust of wind and rushed towards him. How dare you? The dragon generals protecting Ao Sheng were shocked. They hurriedly moved and tried to block in front of Ao Sheng. However, when Ao Sheng roared earlier, he was already much closer to Ao Zhan. Now that Ao Zhan suddenly exerted force, the black light turned into several dragon phantoms and pounced on Ao Sheng from all directions. The dragon generals couldn't tell what was real and what was fake, so they didn't dare to move forward. When they wanted to block Ao Sheng behind them roared, "Get out of the way, woo-woo." Behind the dragon generals, a golden light appeared. Within the light, streaks of dragon patterns covered the sky as they rushed towards the black dragon mark. Within the light, Ao Sheng's dragon body was like a mountain as it rushed towards the black dragon mark with a sharp aura and dragon's might. Boom! Ao Sheng flew out of the protection of the dragon generals and collided with Ao Zhan's dragon body. Waves of air surged into the sky. Not only did it tear 1,000 feet deep trench in the sea, it even tore the clouds in the sky apart. Roar, roar, roar. Ao Sheng and Ao Zhan's dragon bodies were tumbling in the sky. Within the light, the two dragons were roaring crazily. Damn it! After a while, Ao Sheng stabilized his dragon body in the sky and shouted, "Ao Zhan, it's only been 200 years. How did your strength increase so quickly?" Hee. Ao Zhan looked a little worse than Ao Sheng, but the excitement on his face was obvious. "You're under the protection of Dragon Island. How would you know our pain?" Although the forbidden areas of Dragon Island can be used for training, compared to a real-life and death battle, it's still not enough. Ao Sheng, I just want to tell you that this trip to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm is not a smooth journey. You can get whatever you want on the Dragon Island, but outside of the Dragon Island, if you represent the Dragon Island, no human or monster would dare to give you any slight treatment. However, if you're not a little elder of Dragon Island, but just Ao Sheng, with your little strength, even I can compete with you, let alone other dragons. You will easily become the target of other dragons. In particular, Bai Qingyu was able to suppress Xiao Hua. That Demon King's strength is far beyond ours. Therefore, I feel that there's no need for you to get involved in the trip to Bai Qingyu. Just let me go. Chapter 43-42. Ao Sheng, of course, understood Ao Zhan's painstaking efforts. He coiled his dragon body in midair and looked at the turbulent sky. In the distant sky, a patch of darkness had already blocked out the bright sunlight, and the darkness was rapidly spreading to the entire sky. Perhaps it would not be long before a violent storm arrived. Ao Sheng retracted his gaze from the dark clouds and looked at Ao Zhan. Similarly, he answered word by word, "Xiao Hua is my best friend. He is being suppressed by Bai Qingyu. If I don't go, how can I still stand in this world? Since you said that the training on the Dragon Island is just a small storm, then this daddy wants to see what kind of storm the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm will be like." "Don't worry." Ao Zhan raised his dragon head and laughed. "Even if there's a storm, I will stand in front of you. Let's go." Ao Sheng shouted before Ao Zhan could finish his sentence. Then, demonic clouds surged around Ao Sheng's body and his dragon body flew high into the sky in the direction of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Haha. Ao Zhan laughed in the sky when he saw the dozen or so dragon generals chasing after Ao Sheng. He urged his dragon body to fly away. The Thousand Demons Sacred Realm in the distance was like the back of a giant beast on the surface of the sea. Although he couldn't see its true appearance, Ao Zhan knew that what awaited him was a bloody storm that he had never seen before. In the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, at the Yizhao Ridge, Xiao Hua proudly followed Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian into the distance. After a long time, the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord flew out from a distant hill with a few eagle bats. The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord was not used to the intense sunlight, but he still flew high into the sky and looked in the direction Xiao Hua left in. Only then did he speak. Fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy, how many boy did my Ijao Ridge lose in last night's battle? Reporting to Mountain Lord, 43 boys. The same Mountain Patrol Envoy from last night hurriedly replied. Humph, how dare they injure so many boy of mine? The Eaglebat Mountain Lord cursed fiercely. Those damned human cultivators, if it weren't for the ancient Bell Mountain, this daddy would have killed them all. Hee, Mountain Lord, the loss of my Illumination Ridge is nothing. You haven't seen the moth-gathering beasts yet. After being tormented by those human cultivators and that disgusting python, not only did they fail to mate normally, most of them died. I'm afraid it will take them a year and a half to recover. What does the life and death of the moth-gathering beast have to do with me? Eaglebat Mountain Master glared at Eaglebat and scolded. This daddy is feeling heartache for those 43 boy. They died for nothing. Actually, the fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy spoke up again. Mountain Lord, you have to think about how to explain this to the ancient Bell Mountain. After all, we didn't follow the instructions of that human. When the Eaglebat Mountain Master heard that, he subconsciously flapped his wings and roared. What else is there to explain? It's not that I don't want to give that human a chance to defeat me. It was just that last night was too strange. Not only were they about to encounter a gathering of moths to mate, but a python appeared at the end. I haven't even feigned defeat, and that python dragon has already defeated me. That python dragon is a true demon of the 1,000 demons sacred realm. How can we eagle bats compare to it? Yes, that's true. The fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy replied with a smile, but we didn't follow the plan and let that human save all the other humans. I'm sure it will affect the arrangements of the ancient Bell Mountain. If the ancient Bell Mountain sends a demon general over, the Mountain Lord will have to explain properly. Don't cause a misunderstanding with the ancient Bell Mountain. Damn it, these humans are so troublesome. Eaglebat Mountain Master said impatiently, I don't know what the ancient Bell Mountain is planning.
What are they playing at?
With that, Eaglebat Mountain Master flapped his wings and descended the hill. He ordered, you and the others continue to check the surroundings. There have been many humans coming from the North Sea recently. Who knows what kind of trouble there might be? Yes. The eagles and bats responded and flew to different places. The fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy flew in the air for a while and understood the situation of the nearby mountain range. Then he turned his head and listened for a long time. Then he turned around and flew into the forest of giant trees. He carefully concealed himself and headed towards the mountain range in the distance. After flying for the time it took to finish a meal, the fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy finally arrived at the side of the mountain range. He saw that the eagle bat didn't approach the mountain range. Instead, it landed on a protruding mountain rock and raised its head to cough at the surroundings. The sound waves naturally caused some ripples, causing many giant trees and rocks to shatter. After waiting for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, and seeing that there was no abnormal movement, the eagle bat landed in the valley in the distance. In the valley, there was a shallow pool with rippling water. Halfway up the mountain, there was a small waterfall. The sound of flowing water wasn't particularly loud. The eaglebat flew over the pool and arrived in front of the waterfall. It coughed a few times and the water of the waterfall was immediately lifted, revealing a rather large cave inside. The eaglebat rushed into the water without hesitation and landed in the cave. At that moment, the cave flickered with the light of a restriction. It was triggered by the eaglebat's sound waves. The eaglebat retracted its wings and didn't go deeper into the cave. Instead, it stood there and called out, Is fellow Immortal here? Gurgle. A sound like a gushing fountain came from the cave. Then, a tricolored brilliance surged out like water. A human cultivator in Taoist robes stood above the brilliance. The human cultivator's hair and beard were all white, and his face was thin. His eyes were slightly closed, and his palms outside of his Taoist robe were unusually fair. Even though he was very thin, the veins on his skin were clearly visible, like the veins of jade. Looking at the appearance of this human cultivator, wasn't it Master Fantion who was taken away by the Grand Mist ancestor in the Western Paradise? Master Fantion flew to a place not far away from the eagle bat. He suddenly opened his eyes, and a wave-like splendor appeared in his eyes. The splendor fell on the eagle bat, circled a little, and then swept out of the cave again. Hee, fellow immortal, don't worry. The eagle bat seemed to have sensed Master Fantien's eye-clearing technique and smiled faintly. Within a radius of 3,000 miles of this Biyao ridge, it's the world of the eagle bat. There's absolutely no other demon race that dares to follow behind me. After Venerable Master Fantion took a look, the clear light in his eyes slowly disappeared, revealing his clear black and white eyes. However, there was obviously a kind of contempt in his eyes. He nodded and asked casually, "Last night, there were continuous roars in the vicinity of Illumination Ridge. Was there any unusual movement?" Of course there was. Otherwise, why would I be in front of fellow immortal? The eagle bat smiled and replied faintly, "Oh, are they Dao sect disciples from Blackwind Ridge?" Master Fantion raised an eyebrow and asked, "How many of them came? Did they pass by Biyao Ridge?" The eagle bat hesitated for a moment before replying, "Fellow immortal's question really makes it difficult for me. The unusual movement last night is related to Bai Qingyu. I don't dare to speak carelessly outside." Master Fantien's eyes lit up when he heard the eagle bat mention Bai Qingyu. He raised his hand and took out a small Qingquan pouch and handed it to the eagle bat. "Fellow immortal, this is a pill refined by my ancestor. It's very useful for demon race in the 1,000 demon sacred realm, especially a few marrow cleansing pills. Ordinary demon race light gathering realm cultivators will have unexpected effects if they take them." Ha! The eagle bat didn't refuse and took the pouch. "Thank you, fellow immortal." After putting away the pouch, the eagle bat said, "I really don't know how you humans are so smart. The pills you refined are truly miraculous. I've already tried the pills fellow immortal gave me before. The effects are completely consistent with what fellow immortal said." Master Fantion replied, "Our Dao sect's secret techniques have a long history and can be traced back to ancient times. The Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sect were suppressed by our Dao sect to the point that they couldn't even raise their heads. Now, our Dao sect's pill refinement techniques are only superficial. Of course, even this superficial technique is still difficult for the Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sect to reach. Now, my ancestor is the #1 pill refiner in the world. If he claims to be #2, no one would dare to claim to be #1. As long as fellow immortal works with my ancestor, there will be countless opportunities like this in the future. Immortal pills and miraculous medicines will be as easy as lifting a finger." Haha, that's good. That's good. The eagle bat laughed. "In that case, I don't dare to hide anything from fellow immortal. The people who passed by my Biyao Ridge last night weren't the Blackwind Ridge disciples you mentioned. Most of these cultivators were at the 4th level of Essence Qi. 2 of them were even at the 5th level. They don't match the strength of the Blackwind Ridge disciples. Of course, these dozen or so Dao sect cultivators are also from the human race. If they passed by my Biyao Ridge under normal circumstances, we wouldn't interfere too much. However, before fellow immortal came to find me, one of the humans came with a token of the ancient Bell Mountain's Demon King and asked my Biyao Ridge to put on a show with him." "Put on a show? What do you mean?" When he heard that the person who came wasn't the Blackwind Ridge disciple he was concerned about, Venerable Master Heaven Flipping was a little distracted. However, when he heard the eagle bat's explanation, he was stunned and asked curiously. The eagle bat laughed. "It's a show. Let my mountain lord defeat the other human cultivators, and let this human rescue the other cultivators. Let this cultivator be the leader of the other cultivators." Hee, that's really interesting. Venerable Master Heaven Flipping laughed. "It seems that the show yesterday was very exciting. If this old man wasn't afraid of being discovered by your mountain lord, I would have gone to take a look long ago." "It's more than exciting," the eagle bat replied. "It's simply brilliant. Thinking about it now makes this old man very excited. Fellow immortal, can you tell us more about it?" Venerable Master Heaven Flipping asked with a smile. Chapter 43:43. Seeing that Venerable Master Fantion was interested, Eaglebat couldn't help but smile. Of course, don't you humans have a saying that you don't deserve it? I got so many elixirs from you, but I didn't help you catch a few disciples of the Black Wind Ridge, so I naturally have to tell you in detail. After Eaglebat explained the process of the matter, Venerable Master Fantion frowned and asked thoughtfully, "What is the name of the human descendant of the ancient Bell Mountain?" "I don't know about this." Eaglebat shook his head and said, "When that human came, it was my master who received him personally. We weren't there." "You said that one of the two human cultivators with 5th level essence power is surnamed Ao and the other is surnamed Shui? What about the other cultivators?" Venerable Master Fantion thought for a moment and asked again. Eaglebat thought for a moment and replied, "The cultivator surnamed Shui is the descendant of the ancient Bell Mountain." "I didn't hear the other names clearly." "Oh, it seems that one of them is called Xiantingzi?" "Xiantingzi?" Venerable Master Fantion thought for a moment and said, "As far as I know, among the nascent soul cultivators on the hidden Immortal continent, there is one called Xiantingzi. He seems to have participated in." Speaking of this, Venerable Master Fantien's face showed a trace of ecstasy. He raised his hand and said, "Fellow cultivator, I still have some things to do, so I won't see you off." Eaglebat didn't care what Venerable Master Fantion was thinking. He understood the meaning of Venerable Master Fantien's words. He spread his wings and flew out of the cave, then he carefully flew toward the hill. Venerable Master Fantien's body flashed with water light again. He didn't rush to use the water escape technique to leave. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and looked at the water splashing down. He secretly smiled. Xiantingzi participated in the Yaotai gathering more than 200 years ago. Not only did 80% of the nascent soul cultivators die on the Yaotai Mountain, even the Star Lord Hall's Master Kong Hongwu, Jingmu Xian, Tail Fire Tiger, Sun Horse of Star, and Plum Sun Chicken all died. The strangest thing is that until now, the Immortal Palace still hasn't found out who killed these Star Lords. Xiao Huan naturally participated in that Jade Pavilion gathering, and he is the most suspicious. Now that Xiao Hua was being suppressed by Bai Qingyu, Su Tingzi must have taken the risk to head to Bai Qingyu for Xiao Hua. There must be some unknown secret behind this. Since all the cultivators with Su Tingzi are heading to Bai Qingyu, this cultivator with the surname Ao should be Ao Zhantian, who participated in the Jade Pavilion meeting. The cultivator with the surname Shui should be Shui Mingzi. Motherfucker, I really didn't expect Shui Mingzi to have the bloodline of the demon clan. He's even related to the ancient Bell Mountain. It was precisely because of the ancient Bell Mountain that he was able to step into the leaving aperture stage so easily. That was why he was so bold as to try and recruit Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, and the other cultivators under his command. Looks like my patriarch isn't the only one who has designs on the Black Wind Ridge Dao sect. Things are getting more and more interesting. This old man has to hurry and take a look elsewhere to see if there are any other Dao sect cultivators who participated in the Jade Pavilion meeting. I also have to pass this news to the patriarch as soon as possible. This puny Xiao Hua, I'm afraid he doesn't just control the Black Wind Ridge Dao sect. He also has some other powers that the patriarch doesn't know about. Esteemed Master Fantien's figure swayed in midair as several splashes appeared. Just as he was about to disappear, he seemed to have thought of something, and his figure froze in midair. He waved his hand, and a jade slip appeared in his hand. He pressed the jade slip against his forehead. After a while, he frowned and muttered to himself, "Motherfucker." As expected, Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian weren't the strongest Dao sect cultivators who participated in the Jade Pavilion meeting. There were still 3 people who were suspected by the Immortal Palace back then. They were esteemed Master Sun Kong, Zhai Xingzi, and Zhang Daoran. These 3 were the most powerful of the surviving Daoist cultivators. Ao Zhantian and the others were here, so how could esteemed Master Sun Kong be far behind? These 3 were already in the late-stage nascent soul realm back then. I wonder if they had the opportunity to enter the out-of-aperture realm in the past 200 years. If they really did enter the out-of-aperture realm, this old man is no match for them. The patriarch's plan will most likely be affected. When Master Fantion said this, he put away the jade slip again. His expression became even more solemn. Then, the water around him shone brightly. His body flashed slightly and turned into a stream of water light, disappearing from sight. In this world, anything that could happen would always appear in front of you inadvertently. Since esteemed Master Fantion could think of it, it would naturally happen. In the eastern part of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, there was a mountain range. A kind of bewitching purple demon grass covered the entire land and mountain peaks. The purple color that covered the entire mountain range was like a magnificent wave that flooded the entire world. Anyone who saw this purple color would involuntarily feel an indescribable sense of suffocation. This was a kind of beauty that didn't seem to exist in the mortal world. All humans and demons passing by couldn't help but stop in their tracks. On one of the purple waves, a beautiful woman in purple robes leaped about like a drop of water. Her bell-like laughter and waves of praise played a beautiful melody on the tranquil painting. Behind the woman were 3 Dao sect cultivators. The one in front was dressed in emperor's robes. There was a smile on his sculpted face. His smile was filled with boundless affection, and his gaze never left the woman. The 2 cultivators behind the emperor's garb tactfully distanced themselves from the 2. One of them looked at everything in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. Sigh, Brother Daoran, do you think we should fly to Baiqingyu first and let this pair of lovers stay here for a while? Hee, Brother Sun Kong, we've already been in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm for more than 10 days. I don't dare to say that I'll meet demons every day, but I'm tired of fighting so much. Looking at such a beautiful scenery, not to mention Fairy Gusu, even this old man is a little intoxicated. Brother Daoran was naturally the Zhang Daoran that Fantion spoke of. At this moment, he also narrowed his eyes as he looked at the endless purple and spoke to Sun Kong very indifferently. Sun Kong curled his lips and rolled his eyes at Zhang Daoran. Zhai Xingzi and Gusiqiodi are together and living a carefree life. Why are you pretending to be cultured behind them? There are so many beautiful sceneries in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Why are you only intoxicated by this place? The people are beauties. The scenery is beautiful. Zhang Daoran smiled. Isn't it a great joy for us to be able to accompany fellow Daoist Zhai Xingzi to see such beautiful sceneries? Who's speaking ill of others behind their backs? The emperor-robed cultivator in front was naturally Zhai Xingzi. He turned his head slightly and asked the 2 with a smile. Who's speaking ill of you behind your back? Sun Kong jumped up. I didn't plan on hiding it from you, Zhai Xingzi laughed. He pointed at Sun Kong and said, Haha, aren't you behind my back? At this moment, there was a loud rumble on a hill about 1,000 feet away from Gusiqiodi. Dozens of pillars of Aoran Qi suddenly appeared. Within the pillars of Aoran Qi, chains of inscriptions that flashed with brilliance lunged at Gusiqiodi like venomous snakes. Every single inscription on the chains of inscriptions produced a vortex of Aoran Qi. The dozens of chains of inscriptions separated Gusiqiodi and Zhai Xingzi, sealing the space within 1,000 feet. The vast aura, whirlpool-like vast aura, crazily intertwined in the space and bound Gusiqiodi's graceful body. In just a short moment, the originally calm and beautiful purple ocean was stirred up by a storm. Under the inscription chains, countless demonic grasses soared into the sky. The small and weak demonic grasses were crushed by the Aoran energy pillar, turning into purple juice that sprinkled all over the sky. Under the sunlight, this purple color was just like Gusiqiodi's horror. It was truly heartbreaking. Zhai Xingzi's heart was naturally broken. His stone-like face twisted in pain. The effali around him surged, and stars appeared on the surface of his body. As Zhai Xingzi waved his hand, a giant hand condensed from starlight flew across the sky and grabbed at the vast aura chains. Ha! Before the huge hand could land, dozens of shadows of light rushed out from the purple vortex. The shadows of light were first flat and distorted, but when they reached midair, hundreds of mighty pillars of air came crashing down with loud rumbles. The pillars of air crashed into the shadows of light, and in the blink of an eye, the shadows of light filled up. With a loud laugh, the shadows of light broke apart rapidly, and each of them turned into an old man hundreds of feet tall. These old men wore black scholarly robes. The moment they appeared, they waved their hands, and the vast aura chains fell into their hands. As the old men waved the chains, some of the chains fell in all directions. It was clear that they wanted to seal the entire space. Some of the other chains pounced towards Zhai Xingzi and the others. Just as Zhai Xingzi's giant hand was about to grab the inscription chain, the chains suddenly expanded. The inscriptions that were surging within the chain actually broke free from the chain and condensed into lines of poetry. With a great chi pillar, they crashed into the starlight hand like numerous flying arrows. When the inscription's armor runes crashed into the vast aura hand, there was a loud explosion. Boom, boom, boom. In the midst of the explosion, half of the vast aura hand was destroyed. Swoosh. Zhai Xingzi's expression changed slightly. The starlight around his body was activated once again. The giant hand let out another loud rumble. As Zhai Xingzi's body was about to fall again, the two inscription chains that were closest to the giant hand of starlight intertwined with each other and landed on the giant hand of starlight. Boom! The giant hand of starlight finally couldn't hold on any longer. Under the great pillar of qi, it turned into specks of starlight. Damn it! Zhai Xingzi's divine sense swept over and saw that Gusichioti's figure had already disappeared under the Minglu shackles. Unknowingly, he was enraged. He cursed in his heart and slapped his head. Pooh! Thousands of starlight rushed out and turned into a star above his head. That star slowly rotated in the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of light pillars of stars and moons broke through the barrier of the great pillar of qi and fell into the star. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.